But I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
It was a rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
So you said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. That's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1,
Doesn't have your best interest in mind. The government is self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness. Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. What's going on, guys? It is a Tuesday night, which is one of the nights we get together and talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. You know what those things are? We do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific, and those things are, of course, aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. As always, guys, we're taking your phone calls. We're doing this live. We always do this live because this is less of a talk show. This is more of a conversation because I'd like to hear what you think. I'd like to hear what you think, not just regarding all of the amazing things in this world, but how about the amazing things in other worlds? And that's what this is really about, sort of expanding the mindset, the old consciousness toolbox, and trying to figure out what in the world is really going on here. And here, we got another mind bender for you tonight, per usual, but just a normal Tuesday night on Troubled Minds, talking about wacky stuff, because that's what we do. But we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter, and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. So I'm watching the chat in all those places, trying to keep up with all you guys and all your amazing thoughts as we go. And happy birthday to Adana out there. What's up, Adana? How are you? Her and her sister Vicky have been listening pretty much religiously for a very long time now. So shout out to Adana. Happy birthday, and thanks for being here with us tonight on your birthday. So what we're going to do tonight is much like many other nights, we're going to get together and we're going to talk about all the crazy stuff. And I've got this idea tonight. It's a little bit weird. It gets super weird. You know me. You give me a little bit of food for thought, and I turn it into a banquet. And so here we are. I'm wondering what the next step will be because we talk about consciousness all the time. We talk about space. We talk about all kinds of stuff. And so for me, I don't know. I think it's all fun. I think it's all interesting. And we do something on the show called Drinking the Maybe Juice. All right, and that just means again, kind of back to the idea of Aristotle, and he said. it is the mark of an educated mind to entertain a thought without accepting it. And that's what drinking the maybe juice means. We just get together and talk about amazing concepts. And of course, just because you may hear me talking about aliens or ghosts or things like this, it doesn't necessarily mean it's my worldview. It's just, if this is real, let's consider it. Let's consider it possible and consider where this may lead if it is real. And there's a lot of people that believe this stuff, and I think it's worthwhile. I think it's worth talking about. What's going on, guys? Reading the chat here, making sure everything's fine. I'm without my headphones tonight because I broke my... so let me know if I have audio issues out there, guys. I think I don't, but it's impossible for me to tell because technical issues. So anyway, all right. So what's on my mind tonight is before we do that, a few other things. So we are streaming on the Fringe FM. We are taking your phone calls tonight. If you want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037, and we'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. You can also join the Discord at troubledminds.org. That's troubledminds.org. That's the official website of this show, and you can also find merchandise. We got hats, Troubled Minds hats, if you guys are into that. We've had a lot of people requesting for a very long time some merch, some proper Troubled Minds merchandise. So that's now available at troubledfans.com. That's right, troubledfans.com, because it's a funny thing we came up with a while back. The joke was, Mike, when are you going to have an OnlyFans? And, I'm not, but the joke carried, and now you're part of the inside joke, which is now the outside joke. And troubledfans.com, you can find yourself some Troubled Minds hats and merchandise over there, and more coming as well. We got shirts and all kinds of other stuff, so do check that out, please. So the next step here is please join the Discord. Again, troubledminds.org, click the Discord link, and also we've got the Discord running at fringe.fm/chat. Discord is a chat client. It's a voice client. It's completely free, and it's one of those programs that's bringing the internet together. And unfortunately, they just started in the censorship game, and I think that's less good. Let's call that less good. But for quite a while, they were really leaving that alone. And of course, right, because you get people abusing stuff and doing nefarious things, they have to crack down. And it drives me nuts because we don't do nefarious things. We just talk about amazing things, and that's what's going on. So there we go. And also, the easiest way to listen to Troubled Minds is to download the Fringe FM app. Go to your favorite app store. Of course, that's going to be Apple or Android, and just go to the app store and download the Fringe FM is what it's called. It's completely free. You just smash the play button at 7 p.m. Pacific time, Monday through Thursday, and you get little old me, and you get you, and you get all the amazing people that contribute to the show, and of course, all the amazing programming on the Fringe FM. All right, so there we go. I think that probably sets us up pretty well. I think that's fine. Let's get started, shall we? Let's go to this. This is where my brain is at tonight. Now, I was thinking about in terms of sort of our perception of reality, right? Our human perception of reality. And I made this argument a long time ago, just sort of talking with a brother-in-law of mine. And we sort of made an informal bet about the existence of God and things like this, right? And I'm not trying to make that bet tonight with anybody. I'm not trying to be antagonistic or anything. But the argument I was making then is that we're not qualified because to even determine what God is was sort of my thing, because meaning that again we can only see a certain percentage of the actual wavelengths of light that's visible to human eyes. We can only hear a certain frequency or a wavelength of audio that actually hits our ears. As you know, people that have dogs and whatnot, your dog can hear different pitches that we can't, and so I guess just as humans we're limited, and we've got science and we've got tools and we've got other things that sort of allow us maybe a way in to make a better determination. But again, this is not about God, and this is not about that. It's just a way into the conversation, meaning that I think that we're very, very limited, and our mind is easily tricked, let's say. I think that's probably the best way to put it. And so let's go to this. Let's go to sciencealert.com, and this is where this idea began in my brain. And we're going to get to Doors tonight. The Doors, we're going to get to Jim Morrison. We're going to get to the idea of a threshold and walking through a door or walking through an archway, and how it may or may not seem ridiculous, but it's also a sort of a mind trigger in a lot of ways. So we're going to get to that. But here's where it begins. Instead of all that other stuff, which we'll get to as we go tonight, Check this out. ScienceAlert.com reports this. Strange illusion shows the human brain mess with time to maintain our expectations. And this is sort of the argument I've always made about humans. You know, we're flawed. And everybody knows this. It's not some novel thought. It's just we don't like to admit it, I guess. That's probably the biggest thing, right? Like I always joke, my ego's as big as the sun. But I am willing to admit that I'm fallible. I'm not right about many things, and that's just the way the world is sometimes, isn't it? But so this article in particular, if you take a look at it, here you go. Quote, this is from March 28th. I saw it with my own eyes is something people often say. The implication is that since we perceive something, it must have happened. But since what we perceive can be influenced by a great many things, and a strange new experiment shows just how easily our perceptions can be manipulated by our own expectations and assumptions. And there you go. There's the mind screw, all right? There's the mind screw. There's where we get into this spot where it's like, okay, well, maybe things aren't exactly as the way we see or perceive them. So here we go. In a new study, scientists discovered a novel perceptual illusion that effectively reorders the perceived temporal order of events in a sequence. Quote, it is our perception of time and temporal order. Is it a faithful reflection of what happens in the world, or at least what arrives at our retina? Or can seemingly higher level expectations such as causality affect the order in which we experience events occurring, writes a team of researchers led by first author and experimental psychologist Christos Beck-Livonidis. There you go. We'll just call him Christos from University College London. You give me big names, and I falter, and that's part of that human fallacy, not being perfect thing. Anyway, in a series of experiments, the researchers showed over 600 participants an animation in which a seemingly simple ABC chain of events appears to take place. An A square collides with a B square, which in turn collides with a C square. Okay? This is where this starts. And so what I mean by this and this idea tonight is basically that given an order of events that we perceive with our human senses, all right, that we tend to order them appropriately for them to make sense within our brain. And so, of course, this is where science comes into this, and you get this weirdness of trying to maybe make sense of a world that doesn't make sense. And so, you know me, I talk about living in the upside down and things like this, and how the world at large really doesn't make a lot of sense in a lot of ways. But in this case, well, we're saying that they can manipulate the time because they're doing this digitally, and people are watching this on a screen, right? And they can manipulate the time of these occurrences. But even so, our brain still sort of smashes these things together and sets them up the way we think they should have occurred, regardless of what we actually see and perceive with our own human senses. You see what I mean? Okay, so now this starts to get wild. Listen to this. Okay, so A square collides with a B square, which in turn collides with a C square, all right? In truth, however, the animation really showed the C square beginning to move before the B square collided with it, called ACB, and even slightly, say 150 milliseconds, before the B square begins to move from its collision with A. So it starts moving on its own, okay? And it's not part of the collision sequence of events that you would expect from a human perception of causality. Okay, you see what I'm saying here? So they were able to manipulate this and have people watch it, and through the particular study here, they weren't. People weren't able to differentiate, even though they could clearly go back and rewind it and play it slowly and prove to people that it was. The sequence of events is not exactly how they remembered it, because their brain played a trick on them, because our brain has an idea of how physics works and our place in the world and all the rest of this. And so perception becomes, well, reality. When in this case, and in many cases in particular, our perception distorts reality to paint a picture that we as humans can come to understand, right? So this sort of a cognitive brain game going on where things may or may not seem normal, but our brain normalizes them sort of as a default state. And I think it means a lot when you're talking about this in terms of possibly something like a UFO, right? Or, something that's maybe defies physics, or let's say you're speaking in terms of maybe the paranormal, right? Or something like that. I think in those terms that if we see something that's more or less, what would you call it? Strange, right? More or less not normal, then we have this bizarre situation whereby our brain does make it normal, normalizes it. It makes it, it maybe slows it down. We've also talked about this as well on this show about how there's a situation with, sort of when you get into an accident, like a car accident, God forbid that doesn't happen to you, all the rest of that stuff. I don't wish that on anybody. I'm not saying anything to that effect. So please. But if you have been in some sort of a traumatic experience in the past, we have this odd thing where the moment of terror, or whatever you want to call it, tends to slow down, and we have this sort of perception of time sort of being displaced and slowly happening. You know how they have these goofy commercials where they spill the water and the water's in the air slowly, and the people go, no, right? It's based on a real thing. Actually, in those moments of strife or those moments of stress or whatever they happen to be, there's some sort of surge or some sort of maybe memory replaceal, or I don't know exactly what's happening with this on a cognitive level, but time appears to slow down. Okay? But time actually doesn't slow down. It's, again, a sequence of events, all the rest of that. But, so when things start happening out of sequence, we don't tend to see them as such. We see them as other things. We see them as in sequence. And so I guess in terms of, again, back to the paranormal or supernatural or UFOs or anything of that sort of maybe not the normal course of events type of thing, that we end up kind of just confusing ourselves, putting ourselves in a place of, our brain will rearrange the details to make sense, to make them make sense to us. Okay. So that's where this experiment begins, right? And there's a lot to it here if you want to read it. This is from, sciencealert.com. They do fantastic work. I really, really love their stuff. And, this is the stuff I love, not just science as, wink, wink, trust the science, that kind of science. I mean science in the sense of cognitive science, that we are sort of screwing ourselves with the way our perception actually is. And we don't even know it, right? So here we go. So in the new experiments, the team, again, showed participants the ACB animation. But this time they recorded the participants' responses in real time, asking them to indicate the moments where B and C begin to move by synchronizing their timing with a brief flash that appeared on the screen. If the memory hypothesis were correct, as per the figure above, you can see the figures here and how they did this collision, A, B, C square, and causal events and the rest of this. Let's see. If it was correct, if the memory hypothesis was correct, participants would indicate the timing accurately in real time. However, despite repeated viewings, the experiment showed people actually perceiving B moving earlier than it really did, while C appeared to move later. So again, A, B, and C. A collides with B, which collides with C and causes them all to move, okay? But then we have this weirdness where they actually start C moving first, and it's not part of the collision process, but they do end up as part of the collision. You see what's happening? So they've basically taken a sequence of events that seems to be in sequence and move them slightly out of sequence, and the laws of physics sort of don't match, right? And again, it's on a computer screen, but still, in that case, even on a computer screen and these simulations, people still reorder the events in the way that makes the most sense in their brain. Even with repeated viewings, knowing that they were being tricked, people were still seeing it one particular way. You see what's going on here? So back to the whole point, back to the idea here is that we have this sense of, humanity in our brain, right? Our sense of physics, our sense of all of our perceptions sort of locked into this ish of reality. I like to call it ish, or reality-ish, right? But the thing is, this may or may not be reality at all. Can you imagine like a world where things, cause and effect, the causal effect of things, the causal situation of things, let's say, that's probably a better way to put it, is constantly out of sync or out of sequence? What that would mean for us is we're constantly putting it back in sequence. So there you go. So without literally like having an experimental like constant stopwatch on our cognition and that cognitive space, we're fooling ourselves. We're fooling ourselves by a lot. So it got me thinking about this other concept, okay? So that's where we begin tonight. Just that our brains seem to paint a picture of us that makes sense of the world, even though the world we live in may not make sense, all right? And that's the craziest part about this. Okay, so check this out. This starts to get even more wild now. Have you heard of this phenomenon whereby when a person walks through a threshold or a doorway, they forget things? They actually forget things. All right? No. What's up, Advent? I'm not saying reality is falling apart. No, that's not what I'm saying. All right? That's not what I'm saying. I'm reading the chat, guys. I see you out there. No. So what I am saying, though, back to the doorway thing. Have you heard this? There's a thing, and it's called, specifically, let's see. Here you go. This is from How Stuff Works. Why walking through doorways makes us forget. Have you ever heard of this? Have you ever gone into the kitchen and opened the fridge and were like, what am I doing in here? What's going on? Have you ever walked through a doorway and were going to get your keys or something, and you were like, well, what was I in here for? Where are my keys? I don't even know why I'm here, right? You forgot about your keys because you walked through a doorway. Well, check this out. It got me thinking in terms of this and how our mind sort of has these compartmentalizations of seemingly crazy things and our perceptions, right? So check this out. Let's see. We've all heard the experience of getting up to do something only to arrive in another room scratching your head as to why you got up from the couch to begin with. It's such a common conundrum to University of Notre Dame psychology professor Gabriel Radvansky and his colleagues set out to research it. Their findings were published in 2011 in a quarterly journal of experimental psychology. Okay? So the researchers learned that walking through doorways is a mental event boundary of sorts, one that divides our experiences in a subconscious way. So when you're sitting at your kitchen table and you decide to retrieve your coffee mug from the living room, the act of passing through a doorway causes compartmentalization of the tasks in your mind, and you forget the very reason that caused you to set out on your short-circuited mission in the first place. All right. You got that? Now, getting up to go get your keys or get some coffee or something and forgetting why you did it, there you go. This happens. And not only that, it seems to be, again, scientifically corroborated by, setting the whole thing up and setting people on a task to move through an archway or a doorway, and then removing the doorway entirely and actually having people forget what they were supposed to do. And clearly and obviously, it turns out that people do forget when they walk through doorways as some sort of cognitive trick. All right. So I got to thinking, well, what does this mean for maybe the larger state of affairs, not just affairs, human affairs? How about affairs of the universe? So as we begin tonight, the question is this for me. Walking through doorways, our brain seems to trick itself. OK, it seems to 100%. All right. It's verified. It's scientific. It's all the rest of that stuff. Trust the science, guys. Come on now. But then the second part is, what is really happening here? Is this some sort of maybe, I don't know, old ritual? Is this some sort of, I don't know, is this witchcraft or voodoo or something to that effect where we're actually being manipulated by some other something out there? I don't know. As always, you know me, I don't have answers, but it seems like in the sense of the greatest sense of cognition that we can be fooled easily. Again, with just a sequence of events type of thing. We do all the rest of that. But what does that mean? I'm not sure exactly what that means. So that's the question tonight. What does this mean? We're going to get to vampires. We're going to get to opening doors. We're going to get to thresholds. We're going to get to portals maybe, wherever you want to take this. I'd love to hear your thoughts tonight. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. More doorways of our reality, and what's on the other side when we return. Be right back. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter, and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. And tonight, we're taking your phone calls as we discuss this idea of doorways, of cognitive tricks, of getting up and going to the fridge and forgetting what you got up to get. Of course, you have to pass through a doorway because that's the cognitive trick here. The doorways are what make us forget. What are your thoughts here? What are your theories regarding this? And is this maybe something a little more different than it seems? I think that's the question for tonight. And, of course, there are all kinds of different things in folklore, of course. You remember the idea of a vampire, right, that is not allowed to cross the threshold of your door unless he or she has been invited, right? And so I think there's a little bit of weirdness to this, and that we have this sort of, maybe it's a cognitive barrier, but is it something else as well? We also saw the, we've talked about this in the past with sort of these elemental sort of situations, and people kind of passing into particular areas, meaning that once you pass sort of from the forest to the desert, it is sort of a natural boundary or natural threshold, and things change, right? And if they change, and it doesn't even have to be a doorway or an archway or anything of this sort, well, what the hell's really going on out there? So you tell me. Love to hear your thoughts on this. I got some more regarding doorways and the rest, but love to hear your thoughts as we begin. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037, and we'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. What's up, Kelly? So when you walk into a room and you forget why you're there, it's because you saw an alien and they used a mind flash to escape. I've heard that before, and that's pretty funny. What's up, Ronald? Mike's new headphones make him look like a NASCAR crew chief. Indeed. All right, so let's get to this real quick. So I was reading about doorways, and as we start, like I said, we're going to talk about Jim Morrison a little bit, of course, of The Doors, the band The Doors. And you probably have heard this, that the saying goes like this, and it's been attributed to Jim Morrison, and I think it's not his quote, but there are things known and there are things unknown, and in between are the doors. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about these doors as thresholds, as portals, as something, right? Some sort of, maybe are we tricking ourselves with some sort of cognitive something, right? Some sort of cognitive something going on here. Or is there something more interesting afoot? And I think that's the craziest part here, is that the more I was digging into this tonight, the more I was like, okay, so is this a situation with doors as again, just that mind screw, right? That trick, right? That trick where our brain tries to compartmentalize things and turn it into something that it may not be. Sort of you walk through the door and the last chapter ends and the new chapter begins, right? Sort of that type of compartmentalization. I can't say it. What's up? Derek the Night Stalker says, ever see a dog pause at a threshold between one room and another? There's no door or reason to stop other than that one room becomes another. Exactly. I know exactly what you're talking about. So I wonder, right? I wonder if they recognize it, they notice it, they sense something that we can't sense. So interesting. So this is the quote. This is what kind of got me on this tonight, on this kick, and we had the other cognitive mind screw that got us started with the causation of events and how our brain will reorder them to make them fit the laws of physics as we understand them, even though the laws of physics in these cases, these simulations, do not actually apply, right? A hits B hits C. Even if C starts to move prior to B hitting it, we still, in our memory, line them up the correct way that physics would happen, right? A would hit B would hit C, and that's when C would begin motion, okay? And in the same sense, what about this idea with doors? There are things known and things unknown, and in between are the doors. And what does that mean? I think it means a lot of things. I think it means that it could be a cognitive trick. It could be but maybe it's not. Maybe there's something to these thresholds, and maybe these ancient peoples had an idea. So we'll get into portals and some other stuff tonight. But so first, what are your thoughts? That's the first trick here. Is what do you think about this? What do you know about this? And is this something? And real quick, so there are things known, things unknown, and in between are the doors. Was not actually Jim Morrison. This is from quoteinvestigator.com, which is a fantastic site. And they kind of tracked down the first reference of this. And after a nice, very long read here, it doesn't seem to be Aldous Huxley. It doesn't seem to be Jim Morrison that said this first. It turns out that it's not even William Blake. It turns out that this quote is actually attributed to one Ray Manzarek. And so I'm not too familiar with that guy, but apparently he said this back in, I'm not exactly sure. Anyway, it's an interesting article. It's linked down below, but I wasn't sure. You get those those quote things on the internet that says, Abraham Lincoln says buy Bitcoin type of thing, and Abraham Lincoln. It's like, no, he never said that. But, so I always got to check. Because I hate to be that guy that's just spreading false quote information all over the internet and all over the radio waves. So, okay, so that's where we're at tonight. All right, this is where this begins. Now, an interesting thing about doors, what's up, Freakin' 8 said, there is no door. And I think that's maybe accurate. So here we go. This is from MichelleCromer.com. Doors, things known and unknown. Now listen to this. This is pretty wild. It's a haunting site standing in front of the mysterious Chamber B at the Padmanabhaswamy Temple in Kerala, India. There you go. That's a really long word. I'll never be able to say that properly in 100 years. So I'll just say the temple, Chamber B. Two embossed cobras stand guard on the two enormous doors which have no bolts, latches, or any other means of entry, sealed shut by sound waves from a secret chant lost in time. And this is exactly what we're talking about, sort of the ancients and their idea of doorways. And in this temple, I'll make this full screen so that you guys can check it out. It's pretty wild, right? It's pretty wild. Ray Manzarek was in the band The Doors, I believe, says Fred. Is that true? Is that true? Okay, all right. So anyway, it's there you go. I don't know anything about that guy then. All right, so we have this door, all right? This door on the left side. You can see it here in the photograph, and it's a sealed door. It's a sealed door in Chamber B at this temple in Kerala, India, okay? And so, again, the description: two embossed cobras stand guard on two enormous doors which have no bolts, latches, or any other means of entry, sealed shut by sound waves from a secret chant lost in time, meaning that this door does not open. But it's a door. It's not only a door, it looks like a ritual door of sorts, okay? And so, again, it begs the question. If this walking through a door, a portal, an archway, a something, is some sort of maybe cognitive reset or some sort of trick, why build a door that does not open? It's very obviously, it looks like this door should open two ways, and it does not. It absolutely does not. So anyway, across cultures, as long as history has been recorded, doors and doorways have been symbolic as both an entrance and an exit, and associated with portals and passageways. Doors were first seen on paintings inside Egyptian tombs, with the oldest door found in Switzerland dating back 5,000 years. The epoch, right? Doors that go nowhere, exactly. So, and this is where this starts to get pretty good. Doors hold the essence of mystery, separating two distinct areas, keeping things apart. They are a barrier, a boundary, which must be negotiated before the threshold can be crossed. The mysterious beyond is hidden from sight by the closed door, and some sort of action must be taken before the other side becomes visible and available to us. The closed door is full of potential, for anything might lie beyond, as yet unknown and unseen. Yet, the closed door may also be limiting, preventing us from ever gaining access to its hidden contents. Now, that's pretty wild, right? So we're talking about this ancient temple in India. It was built with this gigantic door in a Chamber B, and the door appears to go nowhere. Okay, and so, some people have said, ancient astronaut theorists, of course, would say, yes, this is probably a portal to Alpha Centauri or something. I'm not so sure about that, but it does seem strange that you would have this sort of ornate door carved into stone that's not functional, that the damn thing does not open, right? So to me, I'm like, yeah, this is kind of a cool thought, a cool idea, but doors that go nowhere. I don't know. This turns into something else entirely. Is it just art, like a picture hanging on the wall, a sculpture, a carving? Maybe. But is it something else? Also, maybe. So back to this idea that when we walk through doorways, we forget. Any idea why? Well, there's more reasons for this. So the researchers in this Notre Dame experiment learned that walking through doorways is what's known as that mental event boundary, one that divides our experiences in a subconscious way. So when you're sitting at your kitchen table and you decide to retrieve your coffee mug from the living room, the act of passing through a doorway causes compartmentalization of the tasks in your mind. And you forget the very reason that caused you to set out on your mission in the first place. All right. So the Notre Dame team used both live and computer-based experiments to test these concepts. In the virtual environment, test subjects picked up shapes on a table, carried them to another room, and then swapped them for a different object. They repeated this process in a similarly sized environment where there was no doorway. When the scientists compared results from the two scenarios, they saw that subjects tended to forget things much more frequently in the environment that featured, you guessed it, a door, an actual door, right? So there's something to this. This is not just a trick of the imagination, I think, or a compartmentalization is what they're calling this. I'm not so sure. Is there something more? And that's what I want to talk about tonight because, of course, as always, right, the secret weapon of troubled minds is you. And what are your thoughts here? We're in this weird space where as you pass through a door, your brain seems to have some sort of reset, some sort of something. It also got me thinking in a lot of other terms, right? Of course, like I said, sort of the old vampire idea that they can't come into your house unless they're invited. They cannot cross that threshold, right? And in that case, that old folklore, that old tale of whatever that means, is that it kind of lends a power to the door itself, right? To the doorway, to the threshold, to the entrance or the exit of a dwelling in this case. So I don't know. Like I said, there's a lot to this, a lot that kind of makes me go, scratch my chin and wonder, because our brain seems to be so super complex that we can do all kinds of amazing things as human beings, except we forget why we walk through the door. Does that seem right to you guys? Does that seem right to anybody? Yeah, it seems a little bit strange to me. So I don't know. There's a whole lot here, and of course, we'll get to again Jim Morrison. We'll get to the doors. We'll get to some of that occult stuff that he's been actually accused of dabbling in. And by the way, Jim Morrison, did you know it's also a conspiracy that he did not die of an OD or a heart failure or whatever they said it was? That they said he was murdered, and he was actually seen downstairs in the actual pub, I guess you would say, and not up in the bathtub where they found him. So hours previously, and they say that a couple guys came in, picked up the body, and then took it upstairs. And I mean, there's a whole bunch of like shenanigans with this. And of course, Jim Morrison, and the reason I'm bringing him up because of course we have a correlation here. He was the lead singer of a group known as the Doors. The Doors. Come on, baby, light my fire. You guys know that, those guys, those Doors. So I don't know. There's a whole lot to this. And what does it mean? What does it mean? And yeah, exactly. What's up, Tim in the chat says, kicking the doors of opportunity wide open. And that's also an interesting thing too, right? It's not just sort of maybe a barrier of sorts when we walk through it. There's the mental state maybe changes slightly, but it's also used as metaphor in other ways. The doors of opportunity, or your opportunity is closing, the doorway to that, or other sayings like, we stand and stare at the closed doorway, never realizing all the ones that are open around us. Things like this, right? So it's something really built into this sort of zeitgeist idea of doorways. And I don't know, what does it mean? What does it mean? There's all kinds of stuff here we can get to. So I think that that's the interesting part here, is that again there are things known and things unknown, and in between are the doors. And why do you think this is? So looking to hear from you guys one more time. 702-957-1037. Is this just a trick, or do you think there's something more to this? And that's exactly what's on my mind tonight. Let's see. Can I go? I think Uh-oh, did I break it? I think I broke it. No, I didn't. All right, there we go. Okay. What's going on? Yeah, when in doubt, blame it on the aliens, right? Yeah, so I don't know. Let's see. His dad involved with Gulf of Tonkin. Now, that's a door. I'm not sure what you mean. Okay, so there we go. So what is going on with this? Is it just a trick of the brain, or is there something more, I don't know, what would you call like more or less supernatural happening here? Maybe a trick. Maybe something to that effect. I don't know. What's up? Tim says in the chat, I never answer the door when someone knocks. Well, hey, that's one way to do it, right? That's totally one way to do it. But okay, so let's see. Got the phone lines up. Okay. All right. So what do we got? There's more here. So again, not only this, I was finding study after study after study where some of them cited this original study back in Notre Dame back in 2011, and others were kind of doing their own cognitive why we forget things when we walk through doors, right? And this is also known as what's called the doorway effect. All right, it's real. This is a real thing. So you know, contrary to popular belief, you're not getting old when you got up and walked through the door and forgot why you walked through the door. It's supposedly a trick of the brain. But like I said, is it more than that? So here we go. Although these errors can be embarrassing, they're also common. It's known as the doorway effect, and it reveals some important features of how our minds are organized. And again, they're talking about this in cognitive terms. So what about us? This is troubled minds, of course. Is there another way to think about this? The plot thickens. So there we go. The doorway effect. It reveals understanding this might help us appreciate those temporary moments of forgetfulness are more than just an annoyance. This article says this is from the BBC.com. And of course, the BBC.com is the most trusted source in news, right? Or one of them anyway. So anyway, let's see. Good stuff. I think we got that. We got that pretty much covered. Okay, so in any case, yeah, there you go. Jennifer's got it in the chat. Speak, friend, and the door will open. Speak, friend, and enter. Right? I think that was from the Lord of the Rings, right? So I don't know. Is at some point you got to wonder if something actually is happening here with this barrier, this cognitive something, and is there something a little more supernatural to it? Just meaning that we know about these things in sort of the cognitive science effect, but what about anything else? What about anything further? And that's what I mean here. My doors have passwords, says Tim. Yeah. See, there you go. GameVet's got it right. If you never open the door when somebody knocks, you're always going to miss your pizza and beer delivery. There it is. All right, so what's going on, guys? I see there in the chat. I hope everybody's doing well. We're just hanging out talking about cognitive doorways. There we go. I see Brene Sauce linked it. Jim Morrison's dad played a role in the Gulf of Tonkin incident. Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, I hadn't known that. Okay, but yeah, exactly. So there's a whole bunch of studies on this, and this doorway effect is, it seems to be real. And what does that mean? Yes, I'm not exactly sure what that means, but it does make me wonder about that old idea, like I said, of the vampire that cannot cross the threshold without permission. Is there some sort of magic built into this idea of the doorway effect? And if there is, well, how's it affecting us? And that's what's on my mind tonight. That's where we're at. That's what we're doing. That's what we're going with. I got a bunch more to get to, which we'll get to tonight. And there's also these other weird rituals. I was looking at these doorway rituals, and we'll get into that later. There's a whole lot here, but I don't know. In some case, right? Yeah, you have to wonder if what this is all about. Is it again just our brain? And again, look, study after study after study. They got PubMed talking about this stuff, and exactly that this is a real event. This is a real thing, and it may be a trick of the brain. But okay, so to back to this quote, and then to the doors real quick, just to kind of maybe open this up into a few different ways. So the quote is this: "There are things known and things unknown, and in between are the doors." All right, in between are the doors, and that basically sort of signifies a lot of things, right? What are the doors? What's up? Tim says through a window of opportunity. That's true too. But in this case, right, the doors and Jim Morrison, right, this quote was attributed to Jim Morrison himself, but again, end up Ray Manzarek. Again, don't know who that is. Somebody says it's the keyboard guy from the Doors. I have no idea. Let's see. But, okay. But then, interestingly, right, so the more I'm digging into this, there's this book by Aldous Huxley, and it's known as The Doors of Perception. And this is exactly the text that they say was the inspiration for the name The Doors and Jim Morrison, okay? And so why am I bringing up Jim Morrison and how all this fits in this Aldous Huxley stuff? Well, because last week we had an actual show we did on, of course, Troubled Minds Radio, where we were talking about digital DMT, all right? And maybe the doors of those perceptions. But check this out. This is even more wild because Aldous Huxley, he wrote this in 1954 is when it was published, The Doors of Perception. And they say that Jim Morrison was highly influenced by this work. And that's where the name The Doors and the band came from. Okay. But wouldn't you know it, in this book itself is Aldous Huxley meeting with an individual that is going to give him, you got it, peyote. Mescaline, I think is how you say it, is the actual substance in peyote that makes people, let's say, have their shamanic journey or a shamanic experience, right? And so, if we're talking about doorways, and not just doorways and you get up and you walk from one place to the other in your house and forget why you got up because you walked through a doorway, that's one thing entirely. But what about once you start talking in terms of maybe taking your mind to a different space or a different place? And, well, what about those doorways? And again, Aldous Huxley, again, this is The Doors of Perception. I've got it linked in the chat if you want to read the thing in its entirety. It's not that long. It's more of an essay, less of a book, and it's his basically a chronicle of him taking peyote and opening those doors of perception. Pretty wild stuff. So I don't know. I think it does fit in a lot of ways. In that, well, you wouldn't just name it that if there wasn't some sort of doors going on in your mind, right? And we've all seen The Matrix too, right? In the second one, I believe it was, or was it the third one? They had that whole lined area with the doors, the back doors. You remember that? That whole thing, and they had to get the key maker to make the key to open the doors, and they were like portals that would teleport people around. Yeah, doors seem to come up quite a lot, don't they? And so I don't know. I think in these terms, and sort of maybe the idea of paranormal or supernatural portals and doorways, I think it's interesting. I think it's fun. But is there anything else to this? Does there's, again, back to the vampires needing permission to enter the threshold of the home, back to this idea of the doors of perception written by Aldous Huxley, talking about peyote and his shamanic journey, actually. So I don't know. I don't know exactly what this means, but the crazy part is, well, maybe you do. Hopefully you do. And if you want to be part of this discussion, I'd love to hear your thoughts tonight. 702-957-1037. So there you go. So The Doors of Perception is an autobiographical book written by Aldous Huxley, published in 1954. It elaborates on his psychedelic experiences under the influence of mescaline in May of 1953. Huxley recalls the insights he experienced, ranging from the purely aesthetic to sacramental vision, he said, and reflects on their philosophical and psychological implications. In 1956, he published Heaven and Hell, another essay which elaborates these reflections further. The two works have often been published together in one book. The title of both comes from William Blake's 1973 book, The Marriage of Heaven and Hell. And so, well, here we are. I don't know. As you know me, I'm not the answers guy. I'm just kind of thinking of these ideas in wild terms, because why the hell not? And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Is there something to this other than simply a cognitive trick of the brain? That's what I want to know. Is there something in terms of, again, the paranormal with the vampire story and folklore? Or do you think this is something even greater than that? Meaning, doors as portals to somewhere else, not here. One more time, love to hear your thoughts at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. We're talking about doorways, the doorways of reality, and of course, what lies on the other side. Love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. We got Night Stalker on the line. Appreciate that, my friend. We'll be right with you as soon as we come back. What do you guys think? All right, don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds, more Night Stalker, and your calls when we return. Be right back. we are talking about the alien abduction phenomenon.
The aliens are looking through your eyes and they're accessing your optic nerve. I'm doing that. And through that optic nerve, they're transferring to your brain. People are random images as they traverse neurons in the brain.
So
and they also feel them planting or receiving memories or ideas or images.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness. Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. What's going on, guys? It's Tuesday night, which is one of the nights we get together and talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. You know what those things are. Aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. All right, tonight, of course, we're talking about doorways. We're talking about thresholds. We're talking about the doorways of your perception. Aldous Huxley, Jim Morrison, the doors, ritual doors, portal doors, even missing 411. What about natural archways? Do you think there's something to this? In that science has decided it is a thing. If you get up and you walk through a doorway, your mind compartmentalizes the experience, meaning that when you walk through a doorway, you forgot the last chapter and you're ready to write the next chapter, which is why a lot of people walk through particular doorways in their home. You're looking for your keys, you go into the bedroom, and you forgot why you're there. Well, it's because that doorway had something to do with the mind, and that's what's going on with this. And I don't know, is this a cognitive trick, or is there something more? And I think that's what this conversation is all about. As usual, we're streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter, and we're broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. Looking to hear your thoughts on this. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037, and we'll put you on the show. It's as simple as that. And please join the Discord, troubleminds.org. Click the Discord link, and also fringe.fm/chat. There's a Discord over there. Watching the chat over there. Shout out to S Magician, Catalina, and looks like Sammy's over there as well. And what's going on, guys? Hope you guys are doing great. Okay, so let's do it. Let's go to my good friend, the Night Stalker, Derek in Massachusetts. Welcome to Troubled Minds. How are you?
Hey, Mike, what's going on? Great show.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, my man. What do you think? I'm sure you got an idea here. You being the resident portal guy. Is there something to this, or you think it's just a trick? Is this just some big trick of our brain?
It might be both, you know. It might be like some trick of our brain which causes something to happen, you know, which causes a real world effect, you know. But the idea is like they're called liminal areas, which means like anytime, like even in a conversation or any type, or like when your shift ends is a liminal area, or especially from one room to the next is a liminal area. Like a well will be a liminal area. Anything that we're a barrier between one thing and another. It's basically just a threshold, you know. And those liminal areas are tied to paranormal stuff like crazy. Like that's like it goes hand in hand basically, especially like amongst all the synchro mystics and everything. You know, they look for the liminal areas big time when it comes for paranormal phenomena or weird ritual events or weird happenings in general, basically, right? But why that happens, I'm not really sure. You know, so you mentioned the dog thing. So I'm a little out of breath right now. I was just running to my car. So you mentioned the dog thing before, and the idea of like, have you ever seen a dog kind of stop, kind of pause in a doorway, like maybe from the kitchen to the living room, where there's no actual door there, but they kind of stop as if they're checking out, as if they almost think the carpet's made out of lava, or they're gonna like fall into space or something like that, you know, where they're almost seeing a barrier there that we're not perceiving, you know, and we know that the animals like see differently than we do, you know. And then also like with the if you take like psychedelics or if you like smoke a lot of weed and stuff, sometimes they say that like changing like transitions are tough or are a lot, you know, they're like a sensory overload. So if you say you like smoke in one place and then like the high kind of kicks in or is kicking in as you're transitioning from another place, like if you're like smoking in your car and then walking into the movies, that's like that amplifies the effect for people. Same as if you take mushrooms somewhere and you're hanging out in the living room and then all of a sudden you go outside, you try to go to the store, or you do something. It's not just that like it's not just the extra stimuli, it's actually the act of going from one realm to another realm from your perspective, you know. So I think it might be something to do with that, like the way that the Matrix is kind of laid out, you know. And it reminds me of kind of a video game. It reminds me kind of like, not so much now because the doors are so, I mean the world is so open, but kind of like Mario style or like Donkey Kong stuff when you go from, if you like go down the pipe or go from one spot to the next, or kind of like the game has to render the new realm that you're going in, you know. So perhaps that's kind of happening if we are living in some type of matrix or whatever, where when you change from one threshold to the, or when you change from one realm to the next, the rendering takes place and you kind of lose a little, it doesn't completely render it exactly, and you might lose a thought from here to there, you know. What do you think?
Yeah, so, and I think that's the craziest part about this is that it got me thinking in terms of simulation theory again. And I was like, wow, like, is this exactly like, again, you know, the double slit stuff and that whole particle wave duality. It's like, it's almost like the processing, loading effect of not just the observer effect, but then also, like you said, sort of walking through a barrier, like to the next level. It's like, congratulations, you leveled up. You walk through a doorway, right? As the next level loads. It's so crazy. It's such a nutty idea, but how else do you explain something like this? It can't simply just be a trick of the brain, can it?
I'm not sure. I think it definitely has to do with our perception, obviously. Like you talked about the idea that we can't hear dog whistles, we can't see more than white light, and like we see a very small part of the spectrum. Like what we see is just we have 5 apertures in order to take in all the information, like all the matrix code, to take it into our mind. Our mind makes a picture of it and presents it to us as the reality we're walking around in. But we know that's not. We know it's like 0.5 to like 5% of what's actually there. We can't tell you what the other stuff is. Maybe some stuff we can, like the microwaves and the radio waves and all that kind of stuff like infrared that we figured out. But for the most part, that stuff's beyond us, you know. So I like to use the Carl Sagan Flatlander analogy, where he's explaining like kind of how like a 2D flat square would perceive a 3D object. So like it might be worth honestly like playing maybe later on in the show if somebody calls in. It's pretty cool. But he's using like a flat square on a piece of paper. Like that thing, it can only perceive length and width. It has no grasp of height. So if an apple was to move through its plane, it would only perceive the apple, a round 3D apple, as a series of slices. As the apple was to pass through its plane, it would have no way to perceive the totality of the apple. So he like cuts the apple in half, dips it in ink, and puts the ink on the paper, and that's kind of what the flat square would see. And then, so that's not exactly like what's happening, because that's just that's more like depth and width and those kind of dimensions. But I like to think about it how we're perceiving the world. Like we know that what we're seeing is not exactly a facsimile or a simulacrum of the real world, but it's close enough. It's like we know it's not exactly what's happening. So it's a rendering of our brain to perceive the world. So I'm kind of rambling. I'm kind of losing my track here. But I wonder if on another plane or from a different vantage point, from the perspective of that apple, if we're the flat 2D square in this analogy, maybe like there is something happening when we change. Like maybe we are. I don't know. Maybe we are like going from one realm to the next when we are changing locations. Like we perceive it as all the same way we perceive time as flowing linearly, but we're pretty sure that's not actually happening. Maybe we perceive movement and motion going from one spot to the next as if it's happening the way we see it, but in reality, every time we move any location at all, it's changing. It's like doing a re-rendering of reality, and those re-renders are more noticeable or might have more of an effect when we pass through a threshold because it's rendering an entirely different place, new backgrounds, new walls, new everything. Save me here. I'm losing track.
No, I got you. So what about this other idea too? So like you're talking about simulation theory and how, everything can't be loaded at once. It's sort of like a memory saving effect in a simulation. What about the idea of the vampire and the threshold and that whole, it's been said about evil spirits and things like this as well. You have to invite them for them to cross that threshold into your domain. What about that? Do you think that has something to do with this idea here?
I think it does for sure. Especially in that case, that's your house, your home base is a natural barrier. But then you always talk about the circle of salt idea and the circle of salt creating a barrier. So is it? I was thinking about this while you were talking. Is the substance, is the salt what prevents the magic from penetrating your little bubble here? Or is it just creating this weird circle is almost putting you inside of a little pocket dimension? For us, it's just a circle around you. But on some other plane, it's actually putting you inside of a little pocket realm. In the Guardians of the Threshold idea, the idea that people will, or from trying to go from one realm to the next, if you've found a portal or found some door that has a treasure behind it or something like that, there's always a Cerberus or a dragon or some kind of something that's guarding the threshold. So I wonder if that's almost happening in our mind too. That's almost a metaphor for the barrier, for the things that are in our mind that prevent us from seeing the entirety of the reality that we're living in. It's like the
it's like the veil.
Everything
right? It would kind of be like that idea of the veil.
Yes, exactly. One analogy I use, or just described a lot in ancient belief systems, especially Native Americans, is that they consider marshland or wetlands or swamplands to be places where the veil is really thin. They're places where two realms are meeting because it's where land and water are merging to create swampiness or mud and stuff. So under that paradigm or idea, when two different properties are merging on the 3D plane, that's on some level two literal realms merging together, but we're only perceiving it as a dirt mixing with water. But that's a liminal area. That's a barrier between one thing and the next. And in all esoterica, that's considered to be an important spot. That's where these temples are made. That's where these deals are done with. That's the idea of the crossroads. It's not just a literal crossing of a road. It's the threshold. It's two realms meeting each other. So those could be at literal crossroads on a street, or they could be swamplands, marshlands, wetlands. That's why Washington D.C. is on a place called the Swamp, because they put it in a mystical spot.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm really rambling. Sorry, but I got distracted. I was all ready to do the call and everything. Then my boss came over and started to stalk me, so I had to panic and run out of the store. So it kind of frazzled me a little bit.
It's all good, bro.
But
I appreciate you very much. Go ahead.
Somebody behind me? Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. I was just gonna say I appreciate you very much doing that. You literally peel out your time from work. Again, it's a very special thing, and thank you for doing that.
That's no problem. As far as Jim Morrison is concerned, I don't know a ton about him. Just beyond kind of some of the 101 conspiracy stuff and just the Doors movie with Val Kilmer and everything. And in that, they kind of explore his fascination with the cults of Dionysus and those ideas. And in those belief systems, the Orphic mythologies, Dionysus, all that kind of stuff, it's to take a substance. When I was doing my deep dive in my local area here, one of the first regions I did was my boss's, this reservation area near my boss's house. And I was tracing the chain of custody of who owned this land. And at one point there was the Pennacook Native Americans, and it was Passaconaway's land. They did their ritual, their shamanic ritual was to smoke an herb, get into an altered state, go to the other side in the marshland, because that's a liminal area, and then come back with knowledge. And then the first person, the Varnums, who bought that land from the Pennacook Native Americans, were members of an Orphic cult whose belief was to take wine to get to an altered state, go to the other side in a marshland, and come back with information. It's exactly the same thing. Like, it's a chain of, like, the person who believed the same beliefs bought that power spot from the Native Americans. And those belief systems, you're changing your perception with the substance. You're opening up new doors of perception. So if Jim Morrison is a member of these cults or believes in these beliefs or partakes in these rituals, he would be opening up his doors of perception using LSD or wine or ergot or whatever. Anything that, like, it can be running a really long time, it can be some type of pain thing. Anything will change your perception, change that filter, tweak that 0.5% of reality that we're getting all the time, whether it's bring in more information or just shift to a different 0.5 that we're not normally getting. And that will take you in these belief systems to another realm. That's when you'll meet entities and stuff. And yeah, I don't know.
Wild stuff.
Yeah.
We do have Jennifer behind you. So
I'll let you go.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. I appreciate it, bro. Thank you very much. Derek, the Night Stalker here, has a YouTube channel. Check it out. Links in the description. Brilliant dude, good friend of mine. Thanks for popping back in here. You're the best, brother. Hang tight, and we'll see you the next time you call. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Great call as always. Scroll down, link in the description. Give Night Stalker a follow. Go find him. Good dude, brilliant dude, and like I said, good friend of mine. 702-957-1037. What do you think? I don't know about again a ton about Jim Morrison and the rest of that. We'll get into some of that stuff, but I also have another idea regarding doorways in the metaverse. So hang tight for that. But right now we're going to go to one more time, 702-957-1037. Let's go to Jennifer in Missouri. Welcome to Troubled Minds. Go right ahead.
All right. Hey, what's up?
Good evening. Doorways.
Oh. All right. So this is a really cool topic. All right. So if you, I think about this as the subconscious mind, between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. So you have the subconscious mind pretty much has to do anything that the conscious mind tells it is going on. The subconscious mind and reality speak to the subconscious mind through symbology. Things like doorways and the typical natural things you would have in your world that are set up by other subconscious minds communicate to other subconscious minds. Now, in the case of, and basically, like, the conscious mind decides something because it's communicating with other subconscious minds, which sounds really confusing, but like, one mind is talking to another mind. We're all interacting and communicating in that way. The conscious mind sets things up, like what you're wearing, what you say, how you act, how you decorate, anything, what you say, to communicate to the subconscious mind of yourself and others. And then they react deep from inside the subconscious mind. So if you think about this energy vampire thing, you're talking about these are people who have eventually come to a point where they cannot have be revitalized by their own natural source. And we've talked about this before as far as regenerating through like accepting your own energy force, yada, yada. But aside from that, when people eventually reach a point where they cannot be in touch with reality and get their life force from the magnetic fields of the earth, they begin to feed on others. When they feed on you, you have there's like two choices. I mean, it drains you essentially. Like they do things in a certain way that exhausts you. Through that means, through exhausting you, they are feeding their own energy field, because it's not just the mind alone, it's the energy field tied into the mind as well. So what happens is they're vampiric. They create scenarios that will cause you to be drained. In turn, you become a vampire yourself, you're drained and weak, or you just revitalize and refuse to feed them again. But it's not so much, in my opinion, about a physical threshold. It's not so much about your actual door to your house. The door to your kingdom is your subconscious mind.
I see.
When an energy vampire has communicated to its subconscious mind that it needs to feed, the subconscious mind communicates to your subconscious mind, and you have to give it permission into your subconscious mind. And so it's not so much about, in my opinion, a physical threshold, but the threshold of your deepest mind. And that's what I think that they're talking about with that. But as far as like, I read that Aldous Huxley book about the doors of perception. And like I said, I think I was too young. I was like in high school when I read it. And they took it very seriously. Aldous Huxley had ties to the government. And he was a German man. And if I remember right, he was like, I mean, these are scientists and psychologists. And they were doing very deep studies on this. And the doors themselves, I don't believe that these bands that make it into the mainstream are just bands. They are designed and chosen. Jim Morrison's father was in the military, as mentioned by Bernays Sauce. And I think that there are ties there, and that man was set up to be in that band. They recognize certain talents. And I would suspect that they saw the sensitivity of Jim Morrison, that he is a poet, and they utilized that to speak to the subconscious mind of the masses through the band, the Doors, and to communicate this information to the world abroad and to get into their subconscious mind. Because there's more going on than just what we're seeing. Underneath this veil is the subconscious mind. The power of that is everything. And with the power of the subconscious mind, you can accomplish many things and move mountains, so to speak. Because we don't even know the limits. And Aldous Huxley, the scientist, the psychologist, that's what they were studying. They were studying about how do you access the subconscious mind and the power that's in there. And so that's what I think they're talking about with these doors of perception. And that's what my thoughts are on about it. And as far as the energy vampire bit, like I said, there are people who have cut themselves off and they have no other choice but to feed on others. Their subconscious mind recognizes those symbols in their life and what's communicated to it. They begin to set things up in a certain way. As far as the doors, it's in your mind. And so the doors they're trying to get through are inside of you, not outside of you. That's just symbolic.
So it actually is exactly like described, the doorway of perception. It's a doorway, the inner doorway, not the outer doorway. Amazing stuff as always, Jennifer. I can't hear you because my headphones are broken. You're the best once the music starts. Thanks for the phone call. Jennifer here has a YouTube channel. Please check it out. Amazing stuff. You can find the link in the description. Have a fantastic night. Thank you for the phone call, my friend. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And we'll put you on the show. Easy as that. It's not as easy to follow Jennifer and the Night Stalker, but loving to hear your thoughts on doorways, reality. What's on the other side? Is it all in your mind, or is this doorway effect actually part of our reality? We'll be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter, and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. We're taking your phone calls tonight as we discuss this idea of doorways. What happens when you walk through a threshold? Why do you forget why you came to the refrigerator or went into the room to find your keys. What is going on with this? Is it a mental trick? Is it some sort of actual threshold, meaning that it is a, I don't know, maybe something happening with the idea of simulation theory? Do you think there's something paranormal about this, like maybe Derek described, a circle of salt sort of situation? Meaning that, of course, if that's a thing, then it's not really about the threshold itself. It's about a perceived barrier. And like Jennifer said, maybe a perceived barrier in our own mind. And so the door isn't an actual physical door of sorts. It's an actual doorway into our subconscious, something to that effect. I want to read this comment from Rivers as well in the chat. What's up? Shout out to Rivers, a great friend of mine. Rivers always got great advice and insight into a lot of this stuff. Rivers says, there are spirits guarding doors and portals. I was forbidden to step on the door frame or anything marked as the line between two spaces as a kid. You can sense the change of energy field when encountering them in nature. And she mentions a time when she actually described a phone call actually changing by crossing those thresholds. So that's the type of stuff we're talking about. Thinking in terms of, well, are these thresholds a certain thing, a certain way, or is this, again, some sort of a trick of our brain? Because, again, back to the science of this, and again, we're talking about the Science Alert article where our brain seems to put things together as we're supposed to perceive them, right? As however we perceive physics to be, and again, even to the sense of we distort time in some cases to make sense of effects of the world, the causation effect. And so with all of that, then you start thinking in terms of the larger version of this, meaning that, well, we have this doorway effect, and it's literal in that if you walk through doorways, scientifically they determined that things actually will make you forget these doorways as you pass through. Like, for instance, you get up, you walk over to whatever it is to pick up like your keys. Again, that's like the perfect example. How many times have you been like kind of running through the house trying to find your keys, and you pass through this door, that door, the other door, looking for everything, and then you forget what you're looking for, and you're like, why am I here, right? The joke used to be, I'm getting old, right? And it may be that may be part of the case, because we're all getting old, by the way, because old is relative, and never let an old person live in your body, according to the great Michael Savage. But yeah, I mean, that's what's going on here. I think that these discussions are sort of, at least enlightening in that a lot of people don't realize this is actually a scientific thing, and it definitely is. And so what does it mean when we actually, Fred's got it right, or the fridge door, right? Or the fridge door. Like, you go to the fridge, you open it, and it's not like a particular hungry. You went there for a particular instance. You have, I'm going to go get this dip to go with my chips or something, right? And you forget why you're there, and you literally walk away and go sit back down. You're like, oh, my chips, but I don't have my dip, right? And then you get up and you go back. Yeah, exactly. Apoc's got it right. You open the fridge and go blank. Exactly, like that sort of thing. And so I don't know. I think there's a lot to this in a lot of ways. And so I have another idea. Okay, what's up? Crab Apple in the chat says dogs know. I see you guys out there. Also, a couple quick shout outs. Thank you so much. We got a couple of donations over there on Rockfin. Robert sent a nice tip and said, donation toward new headphones. I appreciate that very much. Thank you. And Crab Apple as well sent a tip there. So thank you guys very much for enjoying the show and sending over some money and trying to help with the technical difficulties going on. I just can't find my thing. That's all. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. So the question tonight is this, right? If we're talking about this idea of doorways, all right, not just the doorways of like a threshold or maybe like arches when you walk into a church. You notice how when you walk into a church, by the way, these huge old cathedrals, they're sort of set up so you pass through like the initial huge doorway, but then there's also these like giant archways, right? Kind of as you pass through them, as you sort of go further and further into the cathedral itself. You see what I'm saying here? So maybe in some sense that this is a scientific thing that really hasn't been explored in the sense of science quite yet, but maybe the ancients understood it very much, meaning that if you pass through this doorway and that doorway and that doorway and the next doorway, that when you approach the altar inside one of these ancient cathedrals, there is some sense of I don't know, an otherworldly sense. You guys ever had that feeling when you walked into a really, really large church or something like that, and not just, the marble work or whatever was going on, like how gigantic and regal and all the things seemed, but there's also some sort of, how do I say this without being a dunce? Magic in the air. You know what I mean? I feel it. I feel it personally when I'm in those places, and it is interesting. So maybe this is not something that was some sort of a cognitive trick of the mind, like science is trying to describe it as. That maybe there is something to these thresholds as doorways, and maybe portals into stepping through one space, the next space, and the next space. I wonder. A lot of science experiments that can happen. So Catalina over on the chat says. Over in the Fringe Discord says those archways and cathedrals was because they were giants, maybe reptilians. There you go. That could be as well. I'll add that to the mix of the list here of things to talk about. And also, like Derek said previously, notice when the dog does walk up to the room and not cross the threshold, like stands there looking in, or the cat will do this sometimes. It's like they know. It's like they feel that shift in energy as they come through, right? Yeah, what's it? Freaking 8 in the chat says it's a vibration, I suppose. Yeah, maybe, right? Okay, so now check this out. Now, this is the crazy part. So I always talk about the metaverse, right? So what are your thoughts on this? This idea of doorways as portals, but maybe not portals as you walk into it and suddenly you're in a new realm with the machine elves, that type of thing. But in another sense, you walk into it and it's a portal in your mind. Again, back to the idea of that circle of salt or the threshold as sort of a protection, a sphere of protection or a barrier of protection from a lot of different things. And I guess what you could say is, so I'm going to call maybe on a lot of this, because of course it is troubled minds and we do drink the maybe juice here. But I don't know. I don't know. I think the crazy part is that when you think about thresholds and how our mind seems to react to them, even if you think there's more to it than just a cognitive trick, all right? And, opening the fridge and blanking out because you forgot why you were there. Well, what about the idea that this has been well known in science, and also not just scientifically well known, but maybe exploited? And meaning that, how about this? What happens when you strap on those metaverse goggles and you go into the metaverse? What if they somehow, some way know that they can exploit your brain states? And we've talked about this. We talked about this with the digital DMT show not too long ago, and that the digital drugs, right, where they were calling binaural beats, where you send the two tones in different ears, and your brain sort of generates a third tone in the center, right? And so it's not, your brain isn't actually hearing it, it's generating the combination of the two tones. And they're saying they can manipulate brain states that way, even to the point of making people high, or calling these digital drugs this binaural beat thing. All right. But what about that? So if we're manipulating people's brain states in the metaverse with something like that, which is coming soon, by the way, they're about to release this sort of idea of digital drugs in the metaverse. You'll see. Give it a couple years and this is going to become super mainstream. That's my prediction, right? But then the next step is, what if, again, manipulating brain states through audio, what about through visual as well? And adding, let's say you add maybe unnecessary thresholds or portals or doorways in the metaverse to also manipulate those brain states. You see what I'm saying? So who knows? Like in a normal space of events, right? As you pass through these thresholds and your mind wanders or changes, or you forget things, what do they do? Well, if they just make every single left turn or right turn like the Minotaur's Labyrinth type of thing, but a doorway, and every single way you turn or go, you have to pass through some sort of door. It's like the forgetful machine, right? It's like the forgetting machine. That's pretty wild. I don't know. I think there's maybe some way to manipulate people with that idea, of course, right? And again, it's scientifically sound in that they've done a bunch of stuff regarding these brain states and how this stuff actually does work. So maybe. What are your thoughts here? Again, is this back to the idea of the threshold, having to invite the vampire? Like Jennifer said, maybe the energy vampire, it's a brain-to-brain interface, and the threshold is your subconscious sort of holding back invaders, or energy vampires of something of that sort. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this? It seems like there's there's a lot to think about, a lot to talk about, as always, because, of course, this is Troubled Minds. Non-linear, open-ended, wherever you want to take this, I'd love to hear what you think about it. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And interesting thing, right? I'm hearing a bunch of different stuff about the Doors and Jim Morrison, right? Like I said, there's a big conspiracy about some people think he OD'd some people think, sorry about that, he OD'd in the bathtub, or had a heart failure in the bathtub. He was 27 years old, by the way. They talk about that 27 Club with Kurt Cobain, and what was it? Who else was it? His actual girlfriend / wife at the time also passed away a few years later at the age of 27. That was from a confirmed drug overdose. Who else? There's so many more. Jimi Hendrix, 27 years old. Again, I don't want to say a name and get it wrong. But in any case, right? So I don't know. It seems like maybe there's something to this. And so the Doors. Okay, back to the Doors and Jim Morrison real quick. Yeah, Hendrix. Yeah. There's more. What's up? Tim says 2 + 7 = 9. Yeah. That's interesting. So in those terms, right? If you're talking about maybe a threshold portal as you pass through it, and your brain maybe changes. All right, maybe you forget something. Maybe it's like the Night Stalker said. Yeah. Maybe sort of as part of that simulation theory, you move into these spaces, and it loads. It needs loading time, and sort of that threshold as the next room loads. That doesn't need your full attention because you're not there yet. Once you cross, it is like again. You remember those old left-right the scroller games back, like Castlevania or something back on, I don't know, old school Nintendo. Showing my age here. But they had like these, what was it? Ghosts and Goblins I used to play, I think was the name of that game. It was a great game, but you would scroll from left to right on the screen. It was like a two-dimensional world. And so when you got to the end of the screen, it would just scroll to the next, right? So obviously and clearly, it's a very simple idea to look at this and say that, well, in that sense, that's a threshold. That's a doorway. And then so once you pass through it and it loads the next screen, it's different. Things change, right? The game state changes. I don't know. Pretty wild. What's up? Is it Amy Winehouse? Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you. I see you. There's an old one too. What's her name? It's coming to me. Fantastic singer. It'll come to me. Anyway, there's a whole lot to do with that 27 Club at all. It's pretty wild. So I don't know. Is there something to this? Is it part of this idea of maybe passing through thresholds as a not just a cyberspace, and again back to the metaverse, but maybe in terms of again, manipulating brain states, and then maybe if we can manipulate you allowing something into your subconscious through artificial doorways or metaverse doorways, you see what I'm saying? We have a serious problem. Janis Joplin, that's the one. That's who I was looking for. Thank you. That's who I was looking for. So, okay, in any case, right, that's aside. That's something different. We'll probably do that for another show. But there's a lot of crazy stuff here, right? Now, there's this actual thing called the Doors to the Mind, right? And it's a sort of a ritual. It's sort of a kind of go inside of your own brain state, and through a meditative process. I'm not sure if there's drugs or any of the rest of that involved. And of course, don't take drugs, kids. And make sure if you do, you're of age and they're legal in your jurisdiction. There you go. And you do it responsibly, of course. There you go. You got all the things you got to say when you bring up drugs. But okay, I don't do drugs, by the way. Just there you go. There you go. In any case, this is from Three Kings. This is a subreddit, and this is an individual sort of discussing this ritual of something called Doors to the Mind. All right, it's a Doors to the Mind experience, and I was looking through some of this stuff, and interestingly, this guy is chronicling what this is. Let me read just a little bit of this. This is pretty wild, right? It says, "I've always wanted to do the ritual. The first time I read it here on read it on Reddit, of course." He says, "But I wasn't able to because I did not want my wife and son to get involved if something bad ever happens. So on an extended business trip, I finally had my chance, and I decided to do the ritual with a few friends in my hotel room. One would be my guide, while the other was in charge of recording what I said," which seems sort of like a sort of a a remote viewing type of thing, right? Some remote viewing type of experience. But anyway, look at this. This is pretty wild, right? This idea of doors to the mind. Check this out. And he says this. What I saw surprised me because the walls of the corridor, once he entered this dreamlike state, all right, entering into his own mind, he says the walls of the corridor were covered with various movie posters. And it reminded me of that scene from The Matrix. Again, the back doors, the key guy, the key maker, right? Matrix 2 or 3, I can't remember which one. But, I mean, I thought it was fascinating. And they talk about sort of back doors in those instances, right? But in this, it seems to be a ritual where he was able to go into his subconscious and see something very similar. What's up, Jennifer's got it right. Says hypnosis, no drugs needed in that. And that's what this could be. This could be a self-hypnosis thing. So anyway, he says the corridor was covered with various movie posters. I saw 5 doors in the corridor. The 2 on my left were colored blue. The 2 on the right were colored red, while the remaining door ahead of me was colored black. I decided to try and enter the first door on my right. The doorknob was made of steel, and it felt really cold to the touch. As I turned the knob and opened the door, the first thing I noticed was the strong smell coming from inside. I really do not know how to explain the smell, but it seems like someone lit a dozen matches together, and then all the smoke went straight into my nose. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I think that's time to exit stage left. That doesn't sound like a good place to me. He says, anyway, like the corridor, the walls were covered by movie posters. In the center of the room was an orange table, and on the other side of it was a large bowl filled with water. And this is where it starts to creep me out, because I'm like, what? Like, what is going on now? And again, this is part of that either self-hypnosis or some sort of drug-induced state. I don't know exactly what this is, because I don't know what this actual ritual is, but I did find some different instances of this sort of doors to the mind or things like this, right, on the interwebs, of course, because you can find all kinds of crazy things on the interwebs. But so he's describing this idea, right? Exactly. Nope. Apoc's like, nope, I'm not doing that. Exactly. Yep. Nope. Okay. So anyway, like the corridor, I'll say, so he, in the center of the room was an orange table, and the center of it was a large bowl filled with water. And suddenly this seems like a Freddy Krueger horror movie, right? It's like you're just waiting for somebody to pop out of the bowl of water and like eat your face, right? And here he goes. He continues. And again, this is from Reddit thread, and the user actually deleted. This is from a post 8 years ago, but you can't even tell who left this post, so maybe they were trying to remain anonymous or whatever. But okay, so we got the door, we got the thing, and he moves in. There's the table, the orange table, the bowl of water. He says, a thought suddenly occurred to me, urging me to dip my hand in the water, but something held me back. It felt wrong, but there was something in my head that tried to say that it was okay. I suddenly felt nauseous again, and then I saw the man in the suit wearing a top hat standing at the corner of the room. He was taller than me, and there was nothing exceptional about his suit, and he looked like the main vampire character in the Hellsing anime. Needless to say, I was scared crapless, he uses the other word, when I saw the man. Remember how in some stories they say they were frozen in fear? That happened to me, he says, and I felt the room become colder, and the smell of matches became stronger. Then I saw the man grin, showing his pointed teeth, raised his hand at me, and did a finger wag, like Dikembe Mutombo used to do whenever he blocks a shot. The man then pointed at the door, and I thought it was a sign that I should leave. Without looking back, I turned around and ran towards the door and left. And there's more to this. This is a pretty harrowing tale, but again, right, this idea of the doorways in your mind. And in this case, right, so he was able to, again, through some sort of altered experience, access those doorways. And even, in this case, open the door and go into it. And so, what the heck, right? He, again, the smell of a dozen matches completely hitting your nose, this bizarre room he goes into that the walls are all covered with movie posters. He's got this orange table with this bowl of water in the center of the room and nothing else in there. I mean, if that doesn't make you go, oh no, something bad's about to happen, I'm not sure what will. But then, right, he continues and says that there's something bidding him in his mind to put his hands into the bowl of water. right? What in the world is this? I don't know. And we've talked about water as portals. We've talked about water. Again, shout out to Rivers out there. Just the idea of also Rivers the person, and also rivers as these conjunction spots of maybe holy spots, or maybe ley lines, or maybe power spots on the earth. I don't know. Like, what the hell's going on with this? And then, of course, if you look at, like we've talked about in the past, Stargate, right, in the show, they have the portal itself is actually water. I don't know. You tell me, is there a coincidence here? And what about the doorway to your mind and these hallways, maybe these back entrances to your subconscious that you're able to access through some way, somehow? I don't know. I read that thing and I got the chills a little bit. And again, don't forget, APOC says as well in the chat, don't forget the Hat Man, right? The man in the black suit with the hat, and of course the smile and the sharp teeth. Seems very kind of what would you call it? What's that thing called? Slender Man, sort of. A little bit of that, a little bit maybe that wiki pasta stuff going on. Maybe seems like a little bit of fan fiction or whatnot. But this person deleted the post, right? Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea here. But okay, so the question remains. I as always, you know me. I am not the answers guy. I do not know the answers here. But I do know that there is something strange, not just with doorways in the sense of passing through and forgetting you went to find the remote, right? Like that's the most obvious, clear, and okay, yeah, right? Maybe it's just that reset, maybe that reload of the Matrix, as some people describe, right? Maybe. But then what if it is instead, when we cross the thresholds, it is sort of a defensive aspect of our mind trying to cover the subconscious through or from who knows what or whom. And well, as we finish, I don't know. I really don't know. I think it's pretty wild here that this thing, it seems possible that you can maybe access those maybe doors or back doors in your brain. Yeah, pretty good stuff. So that's what we're doing. That's what we talk about. That's again, like I said, maybe not the most coherent thing tonight because my tech issues are a little bit wrecked, and you know when it's that whole who moved my cheese situation, you end up a little bit out of your own sorts. But I think we got it close enough. Thanks again to the amazing callers tonight, to Jennifer and of course to Derek the Night Stalker. Give them a follow, please. Links in the description down below. You can find them on the podcast and also down here on YouTube right now. So scroll down and give them a follow. And I don't know, as we end, it always goes a little something like this, right? I don't know those answers, and it doesn't even matter what I think, by the way. So it does matter what you think, and that's why we get together and talk about these things in sort of ambiguous ways. So as we finish, it goes a little something like this. If you're listening to Troubled Minds, to us on the Fringe FM, stay tuned for Joe Roop lighting the void, and of course after that Ryan Gable with the Secret Teachings. If you're listening to us on any other platform, including the podcast feed, stay tuned for a third hour of Troubled Minds. We're still taking your phone calls. Looks like we got Jennifer calling back to add something as well, so looking forward to that. But as we finish, it goes like this. It's time for Fred to hit the door. Good night, Fred. Great show and calls. Good night all. Thank you, my friend. Have a great night. It goes exactly like this. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night. All right, what's up, guys? We are now off the Fringe, and we're going to keep on doing this. And the third hour's for you. Looking to hear your thoughts. We got Jennifer on the line. I will go to you just momentarily, Jennifer. I'm going to try and find my adapter real quick. Every time we take a break, I run out of here, and I try and find my goodness. It's literally, it's this big. You can get them for 99 cents, and it's I've got 100 of them here in the house, and I can't find a single damn one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to step away real quick. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break. Hang tight, Jennifer. Be right back with you. We're looking to hear from you guys as well. 702-957-1037. What about this idea of doorways, thresholds, and is it maybe in your mind, literal, or something else entirely? One more time. 702-957-1037. 2-minute break. More Troubled Minds on the way. Be right back. All right, welcome back to Troubled Minds. Dejected Mike here. Can't find my damn thing here. I'll show you what it looks like. One sec. It's this right here. If you guys can see on the camera, it's like a little adapter. It's like that, right? It's again, and it just, this little thing broke in half. And so I got, there you go. There's the little, anyway, it's literally nothing, and I can find the opposite of this, but I can't find the exact one I need, and it's pissing me off. I got so many of them anyway. All right, so blah blah blah, quit crying, Mike, get on with it. 702-957-1037. Back to Jennifer in Missouri. Thanks for being patient. Go right ahead, my friend.
Mike, I'm sorry you can't find your adapter.
That's all right.
I can relate. When you're trying to find something, you just can't find it.
And you know you have it, right?
Yeah.
Even worse.
Somewhere. It's got to be there. But, yeah. Anyway, though, I don't like to call back. You know, I'm sorry I called back, but I really think this is important as far as about this whole topic. Because I thought this whole topic actually really encompasses a lot of the ways that I think about this. And so it's kind of important, I think. I think it's important for everyone to think about it. They know about the keys to the subconscious mind. The governments of the world, not to sound paranoid, but I'm being honest. If you look into the CIA, MK Ultra, and everything else, and if you were trying to make any sense of it whatsoever, you'd come to the conclusion eventually that they are trying to figure out how to access the subconscious mind of the masses. It's been known by all of the ancients. It's the secret of magic. It's all about symbology. So the doors of perception, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, but it seems to be possibly that the conscious mind of the world and the reality we live in communicates to the subconscious mind through symbology. And I really think that with these bands, for example, when you talk about things like how do you access it, I think they figured it out. We've talked about ancient use of sound, like music, chanting, things like that, especially chanting of the masses, all singing the song. And when you think about that they're using a combination of hypnosis, drugs, which are very much encouraged in that music, plus the chanting. And not to sound radical, I'm not trying to be weird or anything, but seriously, if you tie all that together, you have a hypnotic state, a drug-induced altered state, plus the use of the deep subconscious mind and chanting, and you're singing with the music or listening to the music repetitively, like many youths will do. In that instance, you're digging very deep into the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is literally like the kings of the kingdom. Like, it's the keys of the kingdom. It's everything they've talked about in every metaphysical book you've ever read. It's in every religion you've ever heard about. It's all about the subconscious mind, because your reality and your subconscious mind is the key and the tie-in, literally, to God and to everything that's about your existence. And it's all in there. It's not about me or you or anyone else, but for each individual, the only thing that matters, the only thing that's real, is their interpretation of reality, their interpretation of it, and how they react to it, and how they behave in it. And when something else is trying to rule the roost, so to speak, of reality, they have to convince your subconscious mind to fall in line or to fit into a certain paradigm. or to act a certain way or to be a certain person. And they do that through that messaging, through that hypnotic state. And they're telling you in that music who to be. When you think about Jim Morrison and his girlfriend, Pam, she lived not far from Mount Shasta and would talk about many times the reptilian races that lived under Mount Shasta. She's the one who referred to him that, about the lizard, and that's why he referred to himself as the Lizard King. They are knowledgeable about things we don't know, and they are familiar, a lot more than the average person, with metaphysical uses of ritual magic and how ritual magic can affect people. And we are living a ritual day in, day out. When you get up and brush your teeth, drink your coffee, go to work, you're living a ritual that is your life. And it's a symbolic expression of your deepest subconscious truth. And you have to express the truth of who you are through your own symbology. And that communicates to them a certain truth about where they stand. And in their minds, they see us as subjugated. And it's important that even though the music is cool and it's fun to listen to, and believe me, I grew up listening to I listened to the Doors and I thought it was really cool. I read all the books, read all the poetry, really got behind the lyrics and everything. But the truth of it is the truth that they are not there by accident when they reach the mass scale that they do. They're there intentionally. And there's a lot of information about that of people who've come out that have had very, negative experiences. And they talk about it, how they're part of the, I think it was, what's that word? The Tavistock. I think it's Tavistock experiments, where they picked out, for example, like all of the bands of the 60s and 70s to communicate a certain message to the masses at the right time, with the right drugs, under the right influences, to the Tavistock, to create a certain type of reality politically and on the home front itself during the Vietnam War. And so they're not just tapping, it's not what we think it is. There's a deep spiritual, go ahead, but there's a deep spiritual subconscious message going on there. And the spirit and the subconscious mind are tied together. And it's our one root link to what we call God. It's what changes and affects everything about our existence. And they're trying to tap into that. And they've done it with magic. They've done it with religion. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you have to lay claim to your own doors of perception, your own doors in your own mind. And your literal doors of your house and your rooms and your refrigerators, they are symbolic to your subconscious mind that decides everything and has actual magical power in a way, as far as they see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And so not only that too, the interesting part about, I was going to get to Jim Morrison and the Lizard King. So when you brought up Mount Shasta, I was like, oh no, I know where this is going. I knew where this was going. That's wild, right? So, and I don't know if have you seen the movie The Doors?
Yeah, that's weird. I have.
Okay,
yeah.
there's a particular,
what was his name? Val Kilmer.
Yes, Val Kilmer. And there's a particular scene in there. I've got it linked in the chat down below. And the sex scene in that movie is like ritual magic is what that is. They're like drinking each other's blood and like doing coke. And they're like...
Well, think about it.
Yeah.
If you combine music, hypnosis, chanting, drugs, and sex, you combine all of that together. And that speaks volumes to the inner depths of your mind, and it can change a person. And they used it all the time for MK Ultra, for mind control, for everything. And if you're acting out your own rituals on your own without them even having to do anything at all, you're doing exactly what they want. I mean, that whole message of the Tavistock and all of those bands was free love, right? So people were having basically ritual sex in a way, because it's not supposed to really mean much. It's just about the energy buildup and the release for the cause of just the passion itself. but the energy it's giving to the idea of why they're doing it. For example, listening to the music and what the music is saying and what the point is in their minds while they're having sex, not to be weird or anything like that, but when you combine those together, I think that that's kind of the message that that's the it's about the symbology and what the mind thinks itself and what it thinks of what you think of yourself once it's done. And it can destroy a whole society, really. We see that today when you see the failing. I'm not to get political, and I won't go into that. But you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It affects so much.
You're good. Go ahead. You're on fire. I don't want to stop you.
I hate to call back in. I'm so sorry I called.
No. That's
all. But I was like, oh God, yeah. But
that's exactly what the third hour is for.
Anyhow, because I was like, it's so important.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what the third hour is for. Yeah.
Because
no, you're definitely welcome to.
You really hit a chord.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. That's why we talk about this stuff. Because again, that's literally no radio restraints now. We can just talk, and it's okay. It's all totally good. So don't ever feel bad about calling back. Please do. If you got something to add, just call back, even if it's for a minute or two. Just for sure. Rob in the chat says evil sex magic, and that seems to be what's going on here, doesn't it? Not just this, but I find it interesting.
Well, they try to yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, just that trying to figure out. They've taught us what's good and what's evil. They've taught us that, haven't they? And you're left wondering, was it good of me? Was it bad of me? And they've decided for you already, but you have to be sovereign of yourself because they do, by now, they have spent, God knows, pardon my language, but like, God knows, say it again, but, like how much money and how much time they've invested in trying to understand this, trying to understand the deepest reaches of the mind and how to access it. And they know what really links into that, and it's the basic necessities of existence, like sex and food and survival. They've tapped into that. And so when I lost track of thought, but you see what I'm saying? Like, they've accessed these basic things inside the human mind itself, and they know how powerful it is. And we don't even know for sure anymore. If we could get more, reclaim more of who we were, we would understand what's good and what's evil, what actually is good and evil. But there are many people walking around today that other people would say, like, that's not so bad what you did, but they're beating themselves on the back, like the whipping boy type of thing about what they've done. And because of the paradigm we've been set up with to decide what's good and what's evil and who's decided that for us. And we should decide it ourselves. We need to gain that sovereignty back as best we can. And that's about that vampire thing, in my opinion, and about your own doors of your mind. Guard them, when you pour that salt down, your subconscious mind reads that as you're serious. You're serious about this. You're trying to be protected from this. It speaks to your subconscious mind. All magic, when you're doing any magical ritual, any religion, it's speaking to the depths of your subconscious mind, and it's telling it what the truth is for the conscious world and the reality it's living in. It's communicating to the subconscious mind, this is what's going on, and this is what I'm communicating to you. Because it only speaks in symbology. It has no right or wrong. The subconscious mind doesn't speak in rights and wrongs. It understands symbology and effect. So it's all about cause and effect. And everything is about cause and effect and about being a tool. And a lot of that in the music itself. And when you think about the subconscious mind communicating through ritual, it's telling the subconscious mind how to act. So that the being, the person, can go about their lives the way the subconscious truth of the soul desires it to. If that makes any sense.
No,
it
makes a lot of sense.
It's really hard.
Yeah,
I'm
no.
trying to think about how to say it, but
No, perfect. As always, well spoken, and you made a fantastic point here, and we'll get into that too, and also that the Mount Shasta stuff, and why exactly did what's his name from the Doors? Name's not coming to me, but why did he call himself the Lizard King? It was literally his alter ego. He wanted the press to know him as the Lizard King. Like, are you shitting me? Like, I found that tonight. I had no idea. I found that tonight and was like, "What in the world is that?"
I was a kid, but like as I've gotten older, I've really gotten over it. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
But I mean, for teenagers though, that music was made for teenagers. 14-year-olds, 14, 15-year-olds are like, "Oh, I think this is cool." That's who that was for, and that's because if you think about, let's be so blatant, but like puberty and stuff like that. When they're going through that, it's like the perfect time to introduce these ideas, really about how you should go through these formative stages. And it's actually a pretty bad message, in my opinion, but whatever.
Yeah, interesting too. Before you go, real quick.
I was just like,
before you go, let me actually add this. So puberty is an interesting thing in that it's trauma, right? Because our very paradigm of our existence is changing, and that change is sometimes drastic and jarring, and it is sort of that MK Ultra trauma that opens you to the things that you're describing. Like you said, the music was made for 14-year-olds. Like it almost seems like it's all not an accident, is it? It seems like this is literally the simulation is working as intended.
Intentionally planned.
Yeah. Seems like crazy.
The whole thing, and there's a big study about that, the Tavistock studies and everything else. They would pick certain they're chosen. It's not random. These aren't garage bands as they pretend. These are all chosen. Everything you see, I think, is chosen. You see it for a reason. They can edit that, just like you edit your stuff. And they edit and show you what they want to show you. And what you're seeing is intentional. And the effect is intentional. And they changed an entire generation right there for their own means. And that I don't think anything, it's not by accident. It's not like it is in real life, where things seem to happen by the threads of fate. They're trying to coerce and create a reality they want, and they want you to play along. They want you to play your part.
Obey. Do what you're told.
Hello? Yeah.
I'm here. Yeah.
Much like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
great.
so.
Great stuff. I appreciate you calling back.
And it's all about the perceptions of your mind,
Yeah, exactly. And I do like how you stated this too. It's your mind, and they can only get in if you let them in. And basically, they've rigged the game.
That's right.
Because they know your weakest point, and your weakest point is your most traumatic experience. And some arguably, again, of course, from other horrific things in your life, but the most formative change in anybody's life is that puberty experience. And so they've rigged the game.
Yes,
they've intentionally rigged the game. Yeah.
You're not sure where you're going. They're aware of that, and they're totally exploiting it. Like, they know that you're awkward, and you're trying to get your footing as not being a child, but you're an adult. The whole phrase of adolescent was created. Teenagers and adolescents didn't exist until the 1920s. You were either a child or an adult. And that's the truth. You can Google that. Like, the fact is that they didn't identify. They created the teenager. They created the teenager in the 1920s. They created the idea of the adolescent. You were either a child or you were an adult until about the 1920s, when they created that in fashion. And that's all about the realm of control and making it what they need it to be. And I don't know why. They're doing. Nobody knows why they're doing it. But it's very clear that they're exploiting the vulnerabilities of being a human being, and they understand the creature real well, and they have studied it beyond what we could even imagine. The deep and I don't even want to think about what they have done to understand it, at what depth that they do understand it. And none of us can, because we don't have the means, and I have probably not the heart to do so. But we know a lot about it with MK Ultra. They exploit the psychiatric wards. I mean, it goes on and on about what they've done.
Exactly.
Just for control.
Just for control. A couple thoughts too here. A couple thoughts real quick. Night Stalker adds in the chat, Derek says, as if the teenager is the threshold between child and adult. Interesting how they attack exactly what we're talking about tonight. The second thought is, like I said, you don't want to get political.
That's even bigger. You see what I mean? Like that's even crazier. The fact that there is, and just that's. No, I'm not saying there is, but in my opinion, if you have a spiritual aspect to this and you believe in a God or you have a religion of some kind, or you don't, but you have some kind of understanding of your life and your death and your birth, when you think about this phase in life where you're going through that, and if they're tapping into that energy that is that, they're using it for something, and they want it for something because it's going to create from that point on the formative creature they're going to work with. And so if they're catching you at that right moment, they can shape you into what they need you to be on the deepest level to meet their ends. And that might be what that has to do with.
Exactly.
Because like Hitler said, not in a negative way, I don't have anything positive to say, but I'm saying, you give me a child till the age of 6 or 7 or whatever it was, and I'll show you the man. It's much like that. If they can have a hold of you, and they do that in a lot of the systems, it's about controlling from womb to a certain age. And then, as Aleister Crowley mentioned it, at the age of 8 is the perfect sacrifice. They take that vulnerability of leaving childhood into adolescence. From adolescence into the teenage years, they cover that with music and sex and drugs and hypnosis before they are aware enough to be like, I do have a mind of my own. They take advantage of that rebellion. That I'm leaving childhood, I'm becoming a man or a woman, and they'll take that and exploit that as well. For what end? That's the whole thing, but to take your life from you. That
exactly.
You'll be a slave.
To steal it all.
Until you go in the ground,
Exactly. Real quick, too.
In many ways, I think so.
Yeah. So like you said, I don't like to get too political either, but look what they're trying to do. They're trying to reduce the voting age to 16. You know what's next? 14. But you know what they won't do? Given their druthers politically, they won't make it 12 because guess why, right? Like the formative age in many cases hasn't happened, meaning they can't control the chaos of the change. So it's so nuts. It's so nuts. Just the world we live in. It's like, oh, is this all an accident? It doesn't seem like it, does it? It doesn't seem like an accident at all.
Not at all. No, they've really spent a lot of time. If you look into all these programs like that, they've spent a lot of time understanding exactly what they're doing, and it's none of it's an accident. All of it's every single thing every move they make is intentional, and they take advantage of the fact that we're not living proactively that way. We're just trying to live our lives. We're not acting defensive, and you don't have to. The thing is that the kings of the kingdom, that Jesus spoke about that. And that's inside of you. And they can't do it like with the vampire without your permission. And if you're aware of it, and sometimes you don't have to be told at all. And most people have a natural sense for this, eventually. That, hey, wait a minute, I'm a creature. You're like infringing upon my existence in an unfair way. And I think that's a natural instinctual thing built into every living creature on the planet. God-given right, or universal right, or whatever you want to call it, but your birthright, that you yourself, you don't have to answer to anything, and you're subjugated to your own actions, you know what I mean, with your own knowledge of what you're doing. And when they try to sneak something past you like this with hypnosis or any of this trickery, and black magic, it's black magic. It's classic. But when they're doing it this way, they're essentially trying to surpass your gatekeeper into your subconscious and convince your subconscious of a new truth that you didn't believe in before. Anyway.
You're the best. You're the best. Great stuff. Look, and this is literally never ever feel bad about calling back in the second or third hour. That's what it's for. You're so many people in chat are like, Jennifer dropping truth bombs. Yeah, no. Anytime you want. Anytime you want. You're the best. I appreciate it so much. Jennifer's got a YouTube channel. Check it out. Links in the description. Always a pleasure, Jennifer. Have a great night. Thanks for calling.
Have a good night.
You too. There you go. Easy as that. Easy as that. Holy smokes, right? I didn't actually expect to get here with this discussion, but I think that's the best part about this show is that each and every night we are surprised by brilliant people and amazing takes on sort of a basic premise. The basic premise was the doorway, and the doorway is a threshold of what? It's again from our conscious to our subconscious mind. It's a threshold again in this case, like Jennifer's describing, and I couldn't agree with her more. In like 95% of what she said, I might have a nitpick here or there because, well, we can't be clones of each other. But the thing is, right, like if we have that threshold, like Night Stalker said, of child to adult, and like Jennifer was reiterating there in the phone call, they're exploiting the threshold. They're exploiting the change and using it to control us. And as Algorithm said, by the way, what's up, Algo? I see you there. How you doing, buddy? Follow Algorithm on YouTube. He said, control your mind or someone else will. And that's not his quote. That's from somewhere else. It'll come to me. But thank you so much for the phone call. Thanks for calling back, Jennifer. Always the best stuff. Let's go to Matt in California. He's been waiting the longest. Then we'll go to Kelly. Then we'll go to Jay. What's up, Matt? You're on Trouble Minds with Mike. Go right ahead. How are you tonight?
Hey, Mike. How's it going?
Doing good. Just chilling, man. Doing our thing. Ending up in amazing places per usual, right? It seems like we have a track record.
Yeah, how am I supposed to follow that?
Yeah, right? Yeah, I don't know how I'm supposed to follow that either, but we'll just do our best. What are your thoughts, my friend?
Lots of stuff on this one. I believe in the threshold thing. First, I just want to start off with, you might know this one. How do you say door in Spanish?
Puerta.
Porta.
Yeah.
And what does that sound like? Portal.
Wait, what's it sound like?
Portal.
Oh, it does. It totally does. You're right. Holy shit, it does. It does.
So that's why I got that. Maybe this is something going through a door, like going through a portal. And so there's all kinds of stuff for thresholds. For example, crossing thresholds to like a church or any kind of sacred areas. And I felt that I think I learned it when I was a child, I did Taekwondo. And I know that like in Taekwondo, like karate, and like I don't know if it's for all dojo, if it's like this for everything, but I just remember that when you go in, you take off your shoes, you go in and you bow. You like put your hands together and you bow before you go through the threshold into the arena. And the same thing on the coming back out, you bow. And it just became a kind of a subconscious thing for me that when I do this, when I go through like places of power or like a church doors, I kind of like, it's just a habit. I put my hands together and I kind of bow, and I'm like acknowledging that I'm going through a threshold of, from one place of power to another. That's in like karate. I don't know if you guys know about that one.
Yeah, definitely. And I saw that in the chat. I meant to bring it up, but there's just so much good stuff going through. I can't read up everything. Good stuff from Robert over on Rockfin too. I haven't been able to bring up his stuff either. But I mean, you're right. So there are these basically barriers, and the entry sometimes is like an honorable thing. Like you said, you bow, sometimes you kneel, you say a prayer before you maybe go into the church or into the monasteries or things like this. And as Rivers said in the chat a little while ago, is that barriers are guarded by spirits. And so that's why the change happens. You're passing through these guardians in some sense of these, right? And, well, I don't know, man.
It's like a respect thing. Like you're like showing respect that you're crossing a threshold, or acknowledging that you're crossing a threshold.
Exactly. Pretty crazy stuff. So what else you got? What else you got, my friend?
We're just talking about like the land itself, like thresholds of the land, like from sea to skies, and from sea to land, and from land to air. there's magical places there, and then also don't forget too is that like when we talk about sacred places, the first thing that pops in people's head when I say sacred places is the places on the ley lines we talked before, like the pyramids of Giza, Stonehenge, Sedona, Arizona, Greece, the things in Greece. These are like places of sacred spaces that you cross through into. But there's sacred places all around in nature, and also remember like places like a forest. A forest is its own landscape, but there could be a sacred places inside the forest, like a hill or a river itself. Could be another sacred place inside the forest, or a plateau in the desert. The desert is the landscape, but the plateau is the sacred place inside that landscape. They're like gateways,
right? Like,
and so
barriers within barriers, right? So that type of thing. So like you cross one threshold, and there are still more within. Let's say the house. It's like going in the front door, but then there's like the kitchen door, and there's like the bedroom door within a space, exactly. Right? Yeah. Okay. All right. Good stuff. I got it.
Yeah, and I talked about that before. Just if you ever cross and like say you go into a forest. It's the same thing as, like I said, you bow before you go through the threshold. Just stop and, collect your thoughts and just say, hey, like, I'm coming into this place. And it's in respect, I respect, we take out our garbage and everything like that. When you go into the forest, stop and just acknowledge the fact that you're leaving the city and going into the forest. The spirit of the forest will acknowledge that, and it will start to like open up secret passages and paths that you might not have seen before. And other places like caves is one. Wells is also another one. Like I said, transition from one thing to another.
Yep.
And passing things through like two big trees, like two big oak or ash trees. Could be a threshold, and also so like kind of like a door frame. And one of the things is just a thing about a ritual coming up is the May tradition is a ritual called the Beltane, and in that tradition, we're celebrating coming back into the spring, coming back, so like the forest growing green. And so one of the traditions of the ritual is. We have these two big, huge fires, so like ginormous fires on each side, and they pass through like the livestock and all your animals. You pass it through these two big fires, and it's like symbolizing like crossing this threshold. It's like purifying, like getting rid of diseases or getting rid of curses. You pass through these two big fires, and then the people will also pass through it. And it like purifies, all the bad things that have happened to you over the last year. You walk through it. Have you heard of that one?
Yeah. So interestingly, what you're describing to me sounds a lot like that. What's that thing called? The Alex Jones thing, where he snuck in and saw them doing the ceremony and all the rest of that shit. What's it called?
Oh, Bohemian Grove.
Yeah, the Bohemian Grove. Is that the type of stuff they do there, or is it a perverted version of that?
No. This is like ancient. This is ancient just paganism.
Like Celtic. We're talking about Druidism. That type of thing. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. None of that stuff is going on.
Right on.
Bohemian Grove.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay, so when they're passing through these two fires on each side, it is a threshold. It is, and like I said, where I wanted to take this tonight, by the way, and you're probably going to dig this. I was thinking of this in terms of, right, we started with a doorway, like a natural door frame and like a modern door. But I think if we're talking thresholds and you are now, as you're describing, sort of thresholds in nature. As you pass through these things, it seems like you said, the space changes. Maybe when you pass through, you feel a cool breeze, right? Or it just seems like something changes and is part of all of this. But where I wanted to take this tonight, and I thought it was just too much, and like we would never have time. was that the missing 411, and that all the people that disappear in the actual national parks, and all those natural thresholds that maybe they pass through, and if they're like in some sort of power spot and they pass through these natural portals of such, they sort of lose their spatial awareness, or who knows, right? I mean, I don't know. There's a lot to go into there, and I'm not saying let's do that right now because it's a fuck ton, but that's where I wanted to take it tonight. I was like, yeah, that seems to make some sense, but like I said, it's kind of deep going as far as we got, so we can cut it there. But I thought you'd dig that. That was my initial thought when I first started the idea for the show tonight. So we'll do missing 411 on another night and link it back to this. We'll go in reverse. We'll start there and then maybe go to this. But anyway, your quick thought on that. Plus, what else you got? Of course.
Well, I never thought of it that way. The missing 411 thing is kind of a newer thing to me. I didn't know. I thought missing 411 was just missing people, and it wasn't until recently our friend James was talking about that, the missing 411, and he was saying that it happens in national forests and parks.
Exactly.
People disappear. That's crazy.
Yep. And in many cases, they say that a lot of the places they're described missing are around like big boulders. And so when I first talked about this, I thought, big deal, big boulders, right? But now, sort of as I've learned all this and met all you amazing people, I think that maybe boulders are part of those thresholds. And as we cross them in natural spaces, maybe there is something happening. Not necessarily like a portal, like you step into the portal and just disappear into the netherworld. But you cross it and something changes mentally, right? Who knows? Like, again, a ton to get into there. We don't have to do that right now, but yeah, wild stuff. What else you got, my friend?
Just another natural border I'm thinking of, like I found what you're describing is like fairy rings, the mushroom circles. Those are a threshold as well.
Like Derek said earlier, like the circle of salt. So is the circle of salt like the salt of magic, or is it just the fact that there's sort of a universe that you've created inside, like your own sort of space? And I guess maybe the fairy circles would be in a similar instance. That's pretty amazing there.
Yeah, it's just the threshold. You have to cross across it.
I love it. Yeah. Good stuff. Tons of stuff I'm learning from all the fine folks that are part of the show, man. Isn't this amazing? Holy crap, Matt. Blowing up brains on a nightly basis. You're the best. Matt in California. Tell Lacey I said hi. Thanks for listening. You guys are the best.
Thanks, Mike. Good night.
Appreciate the call. Thank you. All right. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link, troubledminds.org. Let's go to Kelly in Colorado. Welcome to Troubled Minds, my friend. How you doing? What is up?
Hey. Good evening. How you doing?
Hey, okay. Just talking about whack shit like usual, man. Here we are. Random Tuesday night. What's going on, bro? What are your thoughts?
Well, going to take a little different from Jennifer, but I like the way she was describing some of the stuff. But I just want to kind of interject a little bit something there where she was talking about the whole, and it is like a brainwash is what she was explaining, that's more or less what it is. But how they were using a lot of it too is they were exploiting a time when, like in the 60s and 70s, the whole love movement. They were talking. They added all the sex and drugs with it, openly. But that was part of the mind control. I'll give you an example that the government was doing some stuff with. They were using that with spies. I read it somewhere. I'm going to have to find it and I'll post it on Discord. But what they were doing was the government was with spies, right? So the female spies are the ones that they were using it most with. And it was a drug they would give you. Help induce the person that they were, after, right? So, and how it would happen is when, at the very point of climax, I guess the man or the person was mostly a man, right? Because he was using with the female, and that's what they were after. But that was the target, right? But at that time, I guess the mind goes into a certain point, right? And that's where it's more easy to tap into. So they could use them as like Manchurian candidate. You know, they would, once they would get them into that point, they could. It's like almost a hypnotist. You know what I mean? And they could use them as that, and then use those people as their weapon instead of trying to get closer with their spies to do their dirty work, which was interesting too. It was an interesting read, but yeah, man, it was all that stuff. It's control. It's control of society, movements of society, generations, all that stuff. What she was just talking about. Yeah, I just would like to agree with that. It would kind of add that a little bit on.
Yeah, real quick too. Night Stalker adds in the chat, and this is super hilarious and super spot on. He says, Dionysus and Pan, wine and music. It's always been sex, drugs, and rock and roll with these cults. Orpheus, Mithras, you name it. And absolutely right. This is not new. This is just another iteration of the mind control of the old. And as we always say, right, there's nothing new under the sun. It's just a different way to do it. Shit. I'm going to step away for about 60 seconds. Go ahead, Kelly, with your thoughts. I got you on speakers. I'll hear you, but I'm going to hit the men's room. I'll be right back. I got you in a sec. I know I trust you to talk because you don't run out of space. You just go. So do the thing. Keep talking. I'll be right back. Okay. Appreciate it, bro.
So the point I'm going to go into is what I believe is with the doors and everything, right? Or you could say windows or the threshold, right? So I'll go with the ancients, and what's interesting is a lot of these buildings have those big, has doors, a false door, right? Or, you see false doors like in down in the South America, down in Peru, Bolivia, or even what instead of doors, they would probably call them gateways, right? Like you see like the gateway of the sun. A lot of places call that Egypt too. Same it's the whole that we know. It was another thing we talked about was with the sun, but it's also with the gateways or these windows or what we call thresholds. And it's weird because it's always been, it's been depicted. It's been carved big doorways. Looks like false doors. You never know what could be on the other side. And like in India, they had those. They look like false doors. Prebo Mohan, he does a lot of he's shown on Ancient Aliens too, but he does his own videos of ancient India. But a lot of those doors, he's noticing where it looks like a false door and it wouldn't even move. But how would you do it? But they were on these hinges, these hidden hinges on when they were building that whole it's just like one big massive rock. But in that door, it looks like a door. Even the one that you showed earlier too, kind of like with the dragons. That's like the ninth door of a seal or something. And you're correct. There's like really no handles. It's just like tied with knots or something on the front end. But they don't want to. But from the last story I heard was India. The government was, they were going to allow them to open it, but then they shut it down. I guess due to COVID or something, but they were still actually talking about opening that last seal. But yeah, you'll see it anyway. See it and it's in artwork in ancient times. You'll see it in the pairs of threes, right? Like in the Last Supper, where it's like behind the Last Supper, everybody at the Last Supper. You'll see the three big doors or three big windows, right? And you'll same architecture in the triple doors. It's always like the three symbol of 32. And that's what's interesting to me is when of course that's been done by like Ancient Aliens and a couple other people, but yeah, that's for me. I don't know what the whole symbology of three is. Some say it's like with religion they can take it that way. Where the whole Father, Son, and Holy Ghost thing, or is it something else? You know what I mean? But again, I just want to show you the symbology of some of that, not to go down that rabbit hole, but, the symbology's been around for a while, and then you have like on Discord, I actually posted, I don't know if you want to take a look at that, and it's in general, but it's those giant doors. Right, so if we're talking that these things are thresholds and their energy when you walk through them or something, imagine the size the doors, or what's coming through and back and forth through those giant doors, and they're all, you can find them all over the, even like in Catholic Church, these basilicas and stuff, these ancient buildings, nothing really too newer, but, and they're big iron-clad doors. One of them was like in England, and this thing shows it like the guy on there. I mean, he is puny, man, and we're talking something coming back and forth through these dimensions, or a threshold, or the veil, whatever you want to call it. That's kind of interesting. And you have also the stories with the giants. Who knows? What's coming and going through these doors.
Yeah, I'm putting your photographs up here so we can actually see the stuff that you're talking about. And let me adjust my audio real quick so I don't get feedback. I think we're good. Okay. All right. So yeah, I mean, you're spot on here. I think it's not a stretch to consider that there's something happening with the threshold situation, right? Like there seems to be. Again, scientifically, they've said that there is a barrier, and our brain acknowledges it, right? It doesn't really matter if it's a cataloging of the brain as a just sort of a simple parlor trick for the mind, as or as some might describe, or if it's something more powerful, quite a bit more powerful than that. And I think that's the whole bit here. That's why we do it in this format, to get everybody's take. But these pictures you shared they're fucking magnificent, man. Thank you for pulling these out. What else you got for us?
I was just thinking too, like, it's kind of, if it is, the control thing, right? And it's all through going through the electronics, man. Like I say, man, that's why I don't like staying in big cities, or even like, big towns and stuff, because it's a form of, it's a form of mind control through microwaves and all that other stuff, man. So I kind of be cautious of myself, per se, of all that. If they're trying to tap into our, kind of like what Jennifer says, into our doors, into those type of, in the subconscious mind, that's where you got to protect yourself. You got to kind of actually, not only, if people, exercise their body, but you got to exercise your brain too. You got to, or find a way through, like, magic, and find it through different ways. But yeah, you're gonna have to, because they're not playing fair, man. They're doing other things that's, again, that's a whole different story too. But yeah, man. Other than that was it. That's when I added those things in there.
I appreciate it, man. Kelly, a good friend of mine, good friend of the family here. Say hi to Michelle for us. Always the best, bro. You're welcome to stay right there, okay? Have a fantastic night. Thanks for the phone call. Amazing stuff. 702-957-1037. We got, we're backed up. Let's go straight to it. We're talking about the doorways of our reality and the other side. What is on the other side? Is it a lock to our subconscious? You tell me. That's the whole point here. That's why we get together and talk about these things, blowing up brains. Not me, you. Let's go to, I think next was Jay in New York. What's up, Jay? How are you? Then we'll go Tam Bam, then we'll go Boomer. What's up? Jay in New York. Welcome to Troubled Minds.
Thanks, Mike. I always thought ladies went first, but
you beat her by a mile. So if you want to do that, we can do that.
Well, it just seems more polite to me.
Okay, all right. If you defer,
Tam's waiting. Okay. Well, Tam's waiting.
I could do that, but then see, the second I start doing that, I'm sexist and all the rest. You know how it goes, man. If you defer,
okay, so I'm the sexist one.
Okay, you're a gentleman and a scholar. We'll get back to you shortly. You're the best, Jay. Hang tight. Thank you very much. Let's go to Tam Bam in South Africa. Welcome to Troubled Minds. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing good. Fantastic. Like I said, it seems like every night we seem to outdo ourselves, and I don't even know if that's possible for very long, but holy shit. How did we get here? What are your thoughts, Tam Bam?
Well, firstly, thanks, Jay. That's very, very nice. Yes, Mike, you are sexist, so fuck.
Thank you.
I'm kidding.
I told you. Hey, I said. Hey, yeah, I said. Yeah, just saying. You know. It's okay. I got thick skin.
First come, first serve.
I got thick skin. It's okay. Go right ahead.
Okay, so I caught drips and drabs of everyone's conversation because it's morning for me here and it's during the week, so mornings are quite hectic. So please excuse me if I have repeated if something has been repeated. But so far from what I got, the doorways, and I'll give you a prime example of something that happened recently, and I think everyone knows about this, the Travis Scott concert.
Yes, I was thinking about that. I was actually going to talk about that exact thing, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So the Travis Scott concert was an absolute disaster for some people. And for those people, they felt it. I mean, you hear individuals talking about the concert, and some of these people, they said they felt different. It is weird. It is evil. It was terrible. And some of them just left. They couldn't handle this overflow of negativity. And those people are woke. So they left and they documented their accounts, and they said it was just the most bizarre thing. And it was music, plus all the visuals around it, plus the symbology, the symbols that were around the stage. And it just felt off. And it was like this whole negative ritual being done on this crowd of people, this mass of people who were so open to it. And the ones who did not resonate left. And we got to take a step back and realize what the fuck just happened there. Something went on there. If one person said, oh, it wasn't good and I left, that's not it. It was multiple and lots of people who said that was off. That was like sick shit. Something's wrong. And then the fact that the one person did die, I mean, and it wasn't really a big deal on social media or the news. It really wasn't a big deal because it was forgotten like the next day. And, I mean, it just goes to show you what a bizarre encounter. It was like such a bubble of negativity. So that was the one thing. That I think definitely was a ritual and a doorway into the subconscious. Let me fuck with your mind and you will obey, and slavery and blah, blah, blah. You know?
Control. What's that movie with Roddy Piper where he puts the glasses on and everybody turns into zombies and all the signs are obey? Whatever that movie's called. Yes. Like, what is it?
I don't know what it's called, but I remember because he puts on the glasses and it says obey.
Yeah, obey. Is it They Live
Among Us or
what
something
is it?
like that?
I can't remember.
Living among, yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember. Anyway, it's interesting that like so it's a fictional concept, but also by the way, that shit's really going on. It's totally going on. It's crazy. Yeah. It's the craziest thing. I don't know, and like. I think the most important, not only that, sort of the backbone of Troubled Minds Forever. Like since we started to whenever this journey ends, and I'm not trying to like foreshadow anything. We're going to keep on trucking as long as we can. I'm just saying that the entire point of all these conversations is exactly that. Yeah. Control your own mind. Like don't let other people tell you. And again, you know, I'm not telling you I necessarily believe in reptilian aliens. I mean, my friend is one, but I mean, I still kind of don't believe in them. You know what I mean? But in some cases, you know what I'm saying? So, and I don't mean it in a negative or derogatory sense if you do, or if anybody out there personally does. I mean it in that control your own mind and make up your own mind. Because exactly like Algorithm said, if you aren't, somebody is. And so you need to be an active participant in what the fuck is going on between your ears, because if you're not, guess what? You are a zombie. It's called They Live, says Boomer. Thank you, Austin. Appreciate that. So that's what you are. Again, that NPC meme and all the rest of that shit, this tracks. Like if people aren't actively thinking, then you're actively somebody's thinking about you and taking you over. It's control. This is all fucking control, Tam. Hey, control your own mind. Again, like Jennifer said, there are spaces in your mind other people should not be able to penetrate. They're yours and yours alone, and they're a gateway to God or whatever you deem that to be. And amen to that, 100%. Go ahead. Go right ahead, Tam. There's my thoughts.
Okay, so with that, it's perfect. So with that, it's also a choice. You have a choice to say, okay, it's time to open up my mind and expand because something's going on. Or, like my friend, Angie, who says, no, I'm going to stay in my bubble of ignorance is bliss because I don't want to know. And I battle with her because she's unwilling, right? But nonetheless, it's her choice. So when you do make that choice, it's so bombarding. You kind of making a choice of lifting the veil of seeing the shit. And it's not just something, it starts off with something little. Like, oh, I noticed that the government's doing this, and I noticed this, and I know people are this and whatever. But it becomes more. The more you open up your mind, the more you make that choice of, okay, I'm tired of the cloud of bullshit. I want to see the real. Then you start seeing different entities. You start seeing things in the sky, and it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, and it can become overwhelming. And you can look and seem and sound absolutely batshit crazy. And there's no one to listen to you because still the masses.
I listen to you, Tam.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt your thought. I listen to you, Tam Bam. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I know. This is why the group is so important, because this is where we are. You know, we're awakened. Our mind is awakened. It might be different. Our perceptions of being awakened might be completely different. But the one consciousness that we share of being awakened is this group, which is so imperative for a lot of us, because for us, for me especially, I don't think I'm batshit crazy. So I can come to you and tell you, which I'm going to explain to you, 2 dreams that I had that were so devastatingly real, but you will take my opinion and work with it. You won't judge me for it. Whereas my own mother will say, you're talking utter crap, you know? So that was that. So the 2 dreams that I had, the one dream was, I mean, listen, okay, firstly, you know when a dream is real is when you can still remember it, clear as day, months or years after. Because normally you would forget a dream in an instant, right? It's a nothing. But when it becomes so vivid and so implanted in your mind, that was a something. And for me, when you remember something like that, that is that doorway of unconscious to subconscious to conscious, that middle doorway. And that's when these dreams happened. So it wasn't the night before. I was trying to fall asleep, but I was still in that half awakened, drowsy kind of situation. And I dreamt I was at this place and there was a fire, but the fire kept on trying to touch me. And when I let it touch me, it grabbed my arm. And in that dreamlike state, it grabbed my arm. But in my physical reality, I felt a physical pinch in the underneath of my arm that had actually startled me awake, and it was painful. And that scared me to death because I thought, okay, shit, am I manifesting something? Am I super powerful? Like, what the fuck's happening? Is my grandmother true? Because my grandmother claims that she was a white witch, and which is, you know, I don't know, fucking mad. But anyway, so am I like realizing my power, but how's it going to work because I'm a Christian and blah, 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 you know? So that was that one dream. Another dream I had was, it was a while ago. I was dreaming and I was walking down a corridor or a passageway, you call it, and there was a door with a purple shine to it. So you know when you see light underneath the door? It was purple, but it was all around the door. And on the door was a symbol. It was a circle and then a half moon, a crescent moon circle on top and one at the bottom. And I remember I was being called to open that door the whole time. And something in me said, don't open that door, don't open that door. So eventually I woke up and I checked out the symbol, and the symbol was a witch symbol. It was one of the sigils a witch would use. And the fact that the door illuminated purple was also like apparently a witch's color of magic. And that is still stuck with me today. So there was a sigil, it was a symbol, and there was color. And I just don't know, was it a doorway to something that was going to open another part of my brain, or a genetic thing, or a passed down from my grandmother? I don't know. So that is another doorway portal that I chose not to open.
Okay.
Which was sick shit.
Interesting. Matt adds in the chat, which is hot. This is again, right? This is why, right? Live beats anything. And for all the ums and ahs and imperfections and bullshit with technology and whatnot, Matt says conscious, subconscious, and superconscious minds are thresholds, and there it is. That's exactly what we're talking about, isn't it? It's sort of that same sense of that the guy's sort of going into his mind and sort of visiting those doors, opening them himself and seeing darkness in some. The first door, again, there's more, that Reddit thread goes long, but he the first door he opened, he saw darkness in there. He saw like the Slender Man, or, you know, the man from the Poltergeist 2 or whatever, right? Like God is in the holy temple, like, you know, singing that creepy song. And I'm not saying that's the bad thing to say. I'm saying if you've seen Poltergeist 2, you know what I'm talking about. That crazy old man, right? So this is just real to brief you. It's a crazy old man who's like demonic in some sense, and he's like has like this haggard face. It might be Poltergeist 3, I can't remember, 2 or 3, but he's in a dark suit, kind of like that Slender Man sort of thing, and he walks through the town sort of slowly with sort of like a gait that's not a care in the world, and he's singing like in this just really creepy tone, God is in the holy temple, right? But clearly and obviously he's the opposite, and so he's walking through the town singing this. It is creepy as if you've never seen that. Anyway, so just so it's basically back to that Reddit thread of like those doors in your mind. Who knows what resides there? Again, and we've talked about in the subconscious of people, there's a monster in us, right? There's a monster there. There are people do horrific things, and I'm not saying that I'm a monster, or you're a monster, or anybody else, but I'm saying that in humanity, therein lies a monster. And so maybe those doorways are, in some cases, in some ways, shouldn't be broached even by ourselves. Like, leave the demon inside. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's exactly my point. That's why I didn't open those stupid doors. Why would I open a door that's purple with a witch's sigil? That's stupid.
Right. It's a trap.
But then
Admiral Ackbar,
it is a trap.
Star Wars. It's a trap.
I remember that from Big Bang Theory.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Long as you know it. Go ahead. What else you got?
Okay.
Good shit.
So, this is something that's very interesting. I don't know if anyone has heard it, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but have you ever heard of the Grabavoy codes? Grabavoy or something like that codes?
I may be not catching what you're saying, but no, I don't think so.
Okay. So there's a CIA, and I think it is on the CIA document list. I don't know where because they got so much they're releasing. But there's a specific generates, you can actually find it on YouTube. There's specific codes that the government, US government has now has been releasing over time. And these are codes to unlock specific potentials within yourself. Now, when I first saw it, I thought, you assholes, you've known we've been living in a simulation for the longest time, and you're releasing these codes now. So some of there's people who actually go and research these codes, these Grabavoy codes, and like their numbers, right? Like 55 something, 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 and that activates or manifests a specific thing that you want or need in your life. There's one for money, there's one for health, or whatever. But it's what you believe as well, right? But apparently that these codes are from a whole line or list of some of them are from Tesla, some of them are from other gurus around the world over time. And when you repeat these codes or write them down in a specific way or write them down on your skin, and you repeat these codes over and over, you manifest whatever that code is directed to. So that makes sense when you're talking about a simulation theory. That would be the doorway. The code would be the doorway to unlocking something of the simulation, which is very interesting for me. I mean, I follow a YouTube channel with these Grabavoy codes just to see what the hell is going on. And I've checked the CIA documents, and they really are there. But it's all in secret. You have to really go find it. My question is, they're hiding this shit in plain sight to unlock things of this world, this our 3D reality, to make it larger for you. But they haven't advertised it. But it is a doorway to opening up a simulation, added simulation of our reality. But I think with that, it becomes You say these numbers, and then you have the intent behind it with the belief and the faith of it, and then it activates. I don't know. That's what they say. So that was that, and then I wanted to talk about. Matt was mentioning the circles, the mushroom circles.
Fairy circles. Yep.
When I went, yes, it's fairy circles. Yeah. So when I went to England, I toured around and I went to this really weird church, because there's churches everywhere. And I was looking around the church, and we actually went into the church. There was no one there, so we kind of broke in. And when you were outside the church, because the church was built so long ago, you still had the cemetery that was right next to the church. So I was walking around the church with a friend, and I saw a ring of mushrooms within the cemetery, within the gravestones. And my friend wanted to jump in, and I just had this feeling like, don't you dare. Like, this is a fairy, this is something magical, this is a fairy thing. And I actually took photos of it. And then she jumped in anyway. And I haven't heard from her since England, but I just had that feeling of this is like something different. There's a doorway here, there's a barrier here, and don't cross it because it belongs to something else. So with being awake, the main thing about being awake and noticing doorways and thresholds and vibrations is recognizing it and believing it, because the way I see it is the first thought that comes to your mind is the true thought. And the second thing you think of is your brain trying to make sense of the situation. So immediately I thought, no, don't walk in the circle of mushrooms. There's something there. It doesn't belong to you. And my second thought was, it's just a circle of mushrooms. But I didn't go into it anyway. She did. Whether she's alive to this day, we will never know.
We will never know.
We'll never know. So the bitch is gone. So I think also with the missing 411, you need to do a whole show on that. That is strange. Haven't read all that guy's books, but that shit is weird.
Yeah. Like I said, I wanted to take it there. That was my sort of final thought on when I was putting the show together tonight. But I think you need to start with that premise, and then maybe we'll end up in the same spot, possibly. It just depends, right? But I think it is weird that, again, this idea of a maybe natural portal, natural doorway or archway or whatever you want to call it, right? Like these barriers. Yeah, I think it's probably related, right? And some people want to say Bigfoot and some of this other shit. I'm not so sure about that. I don't rule it out, but I think in some cases, what we're talking about tonight probably is more related to missing 411 than a lot of things. So yeah, who knows? Who knows? And we did describe monsters in the hearts of men. So that might also be related to the missing 411. Yeah, for sure.
But if you think about it,
we got tons of calls behind you, Tam Bam. So we got to trim you. Final thought here. And you're welcome to stay. We'll go late. We'll go late. But we got tons of people behind you.
I'll stay.
Okay.
Cool. You go ahead.
No. Final thought. Go ahead. You had something to say, and then we'll move on.
Oh, no. It's just points that I've written like a whole A4 page, so I'll wait.
Okay, all right, perfect. Tam Bam in South Africa. Give her a follow, a link tree in the description. By the way, anybody who's got their links in the description, if you want to send me a link tree that has all your links, I'll swap it out. Send it to me. Tam Bam sent it. I put it in there. I used to have just her Instagram, but now you can follow Tam Bam on all the places. Thank you, Tam Bam. You're the best. Appreciate it very much. You are the reverse speech savant, and we're going on the road. I'm going to hold you to that. All right. Let's do it. Let's go. Appreciate it so much. Stay right there. We'll get back to you. Let's go to Jay in New York. Thanks for being patient, my friend. Thanks for deferring to Tam Bam. Go right ahead. What's on your mind, Jay in New York?
Well, that's why you always defer to the ladies first. Holy smokes, Tam. Wow.
Yeah, it's better to let them speak and just shut your damn mouth sometimes. Yep, 100%.
Holy crap, Tam. I mean, I wanted to bring up what Jennifer was talking about with... I had a conversation today. I'm stacking up stones on the side of a building. Unbelievably boring job. And I had a conversation with the guy that I was working with today about how at a point in the 70s, the music kind of changed from where it was the poetry and the lyrical and the story and all of that to the point where it was just basically a beat with the same words over and over. The one that comes up to mind was the police sending out an SOS. That was where the conversation started. And then we started thinking about it while we're picking up these rocks and throwing them on the side of a building. It's like every one of these classic rock songs from that time are basically the same words over and over and over with the beat that they use in all of their songs. And Jennifer got me thinking about that road, and then Kelly called, and then we let Tam speak first because it's polite to let the lady speak first, and it's like reiterating the entire point of all of it. It's a brainwashing control kind of sort of thing. Things are accepted. These are the points that we want you to hear. We're going to give you a 4-minute song, and we're just going to beat it into your head, and everybody's going to love it because it's on the radio every 12th song. It just, that was my thought process in it. And then it brings me back when Tam was telling her stories about odd things happening to her. I remember an odd thing happening to me at one time, and I was talking to the older person in the group. That person told me it's always very important to keep something on your mind, whatever it may be, because that way you have something to focus on, that your mind will always be your own, no matter what that thing is, work or school or whatever it is, but just something that you're focused on in that time of your life, that the only person that has control of it is you. That's the little ghost hunter's prayer kind of comment for the conversation today, I suppose, Mike.
Good stuff. Good stuff. As always, Jay, part of the conglomerate of amazing that we happen to be at Troubled Minds. Again, I can brag now because it's not just me; it's all of you amazing people. Great take. I think you're right. I think there's a lot there that you're saying, and notably too, I want to point out that notice on my news show, I say in the very beginning that the most basic form of brainwashing is repetition. And you just said it in that a lot of these lyrics from these songs, they repeat the same phrases over and over again, almost like it's some sort of ritual chant, right? Is there something here? Maybe. Holy shit. I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, as you know me, I don't have the answers, but I think the plot thickens. I think that's for damn sure.
It definitely does. I mean, it's... Look at the older religious songs to the newer religious songs, the rap, the country, the rock and roll, the alternative, the techno. It's all come into a beat. You know, they all have the same beats to them now. They recycle them and use them over and over again. I mean, there was an experiment that I wanted to do for the people that are listening and use the Discord and everything else like that. I would like for everyone to make a mindful note when they're watching the Hulu or the Amazon Prime or any of those like little streaming devices where you can watch your shows because you missed it because you were at work or whatever, and the commercials that are involved in it. And I would like to take a little survey of what's being force-fed in commercials, because it's something that I'm noticing. And what people talk about because of what they're seeing in commercials. It just, if everyone could put it in their back of the mind and make a note of it, and then we could talk about it again later someday. That would be neat. That metaverse thing that you were bringing up too, Mike, that thing really creeps me out because
Can always
we've gotten
digitize it,
into that
can't you?
technology. I have a younger child who is in a lower level grade who wanted to take a book today that he knows how to read to school so he could read it for the class. They recorded him on Zoom for all of the classes. To me, that seems odd that you're not just sitting in your class reading your book report or anything else like that. Now they're at an unbelievably young age, making them comfortable about making a radio talk show that they can broadcast on the internet. Does that candy dance around the trouble words enough, Mike?
For sure. Don't say the words. Yeah. I don't know. As always, right? It all comes back to one thing and one thing only. And we've talked about this for years, literally years. And there's just so many aspects that point to the same thing. And it's always control. It's always control, right? If you can't control people directly, you can control them indirectly. You control them with thoughts and ideas. You control them with, ritual. You control them with brainwash. You control them with so many things, right? It's, music, with drugs, with you name it. You name the thing, they're doing it. And it's so wild that, again, back to what Night Stalker said, this is nothing new under the sun. They were doing this back in the old days, and it was Dionysus or Pan, right? It was Mithras or was it Orpheus? I think he said. This is all the same shit. It's all the same shit, isn't it? It's all the same shit.
The Egyptians got the guys that carried the blocks up for the top of the hill there for some beer. And the reason why the Egyptians wanted the beer is because they didn't want to drink the water because they would die.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was a really simple thing. It was a super crazy. I don't even know what you would say about it, but they had serious problems with the water. It was stagnant. You know, people are pooping in the streets and stuff. The water's running in the river. They're drinking it, thinking it's clean. It's not. And the people that were making it were the people that were drinking the beer. The reason why they were drinking the beer is because the water was boiled with the barley and hops, and it killed all of the crap in the water. It was dumb. It was a stupid, dumb thing. But then they realized, oh my God, we have control of all of these people because all we have to do is give them beer.
Yeah.
And they'll do whatever we want. You know?
Yep.
The Greeks did it with wine.
Hell yeah. Hey, I'm telling you, right? Like, I don't know. I don't know the answers. You know me, but here we are having a conversation anyway. I think it's crazy. We got a phone call to go to. You going to hang out? You got a J-Tro for us? Jay in New York, my friend?
It's just building itself up.
Okay, all right.
The more the show goes on, the better it is.
All right, the better it is. All right, hang tight, Boomer. I got a phone call. Been waiting for a long time, too. I'm going to go to them. He's usually short, and we'll go to you. Let's go to Jack in Oregon. Welcome to Troubled Minds. Go right ahead, my friend.
Hey, Mike.
What's up? How are you, bro?
Another beautiful day, you know.
Yeah.
Anyways, so first of all, I called in, and but then I kind of lost touch. Like, I got a crappy internet connection, and then so I actually have to listen to the show while I'm waiting. And so, could you please reiterate what the topic of the show is for me?
Yeah, just the doorways of reality. Again, so like the scientists have determined that you walk through a doorway and you forget something. It's almost like the Matrix, like you step through the next level of a video game. But then we're talking about how that actually reflects to the subconscious mind, and in many cases control, in that those doorways in some cases should not be broached by, let's say, anybody other than yourself, because they're your doorways. And allowing brainwash or let's say through drugs or repetition or music or things like this is a bad thing, because you're allowing control into those subconscious recesses of your mind. There you go. That's probably a good sum up. Look, I'm telling you guys, I could do 15-minute episodes, but you'd never be able to call in and be part of it. There you go.
Sorry.
No. I'm just saying.
Scientists say what?
Wait, what? Say again.
The scientists say that what shouldn't you do? I missed that.
No. Okay. So, scientists have determined that when we cross through a doorway, we forget things. For instance, the whole point of you walking to go, let's say you forgot your keys on your way out to the car. You go back in the house, you've walked through one doorway, you go through another doorway to your bedroom where the keys are, and then you forget what you were going to get. And you turn around and you're like, why am I here? And you start to walk back out because you've crossed through these thresholds. And scientists have tested this and had this sort of thing happen digitally and in real actual person stuff, and removed doorways and made people pass through doorways, and people that do pass through doorways forget what they were going for. It's like the refrigerator. You walk to the refrigerator, you open the door, and sometimes you stand there, right? And you're like, why am I here? What did I open the door for? Right?
Okay.
That's what this is about.
I get it.
All right.
Wow. Okay. You've done your research, Mike.
Hey. Of course. I know something about something once in a while.
So, what was you guys? All your audience is so thorough and everything. So I have to figure that you've already covered the that giant doorway in Peru or whatever it is, the doorway that goes nowhere.
Yeah, doorway of the gods.
You guys talk about that?
We didn't, but go ahead. It's the same idea.
Right. So it's like the guy goes through the doorway and he finds out that it's just like some alien's lab bench, right? Where, he's like, what are you doing here? Well, hello, you should go back. You talked about that.
Yes, in the periphery. Yes, we did. We kind of covered that. But it's okay. It's okay. Give us your thought. It's fine. It's fine.
All right. So that last guy was bagging on rock and roll. I have to say that, like, rock and roll is it's like that. So if you can't criticize somebody for repeating themselves if you can dance without repeating yourself. You know what I mean?
No, okay. That's a great point, but also let me explain to you that a huge part of what we're describing here of ritual is dance. Go watch that thing. It's in links in the description down below on YouTube. You can find it. It's we were talking about the Doors, and in the Doors movie, the sex scene is basically like a ritual magic situation going on. So it's like they're drinking blood, they're dancing like Pan in the forest. It's crazy. I've never seen the movie, but I watched that clip. It's a 4-minute clip, and I was like, what the fuck is going on right now? Yeah, exactly. Matt's got it right. Dance is part of a ritual. So again, like I'm saying, and I don't think the thing is like, for instance, right? Repetition, meaning that if you say the same thing over and over again, it's trying to like get a message into people's brains. Like Bohemian Rhapsody, for instance, right? There's a difference between brainwashed repetition and this gatekeeping of, let's say, the pop art culture and true art. It's different. They're very different things. So not to like lump all of music into one thing and say that it's a bad thing, but I think you're missing the point in that, yeah, fucking rock and roll, go, right? But if we're talking about, in some senses, sort of controlling the masses with it, it's a different thing entirely. And so our whole conversation tonight, and wait, hold on. Our whole conversation tonight, and also all of Troubled Minds, is being able to differentiate in your own mind what the difference is. Okay, and I'm not trying to make those definitions for you. Me and this group are, again, and you are trying to say, look, there is a differentiation, and how do you decide to draw that line? That's all. Go right ahead. You're good.
I decided to rock, man. No, you got to move around. What's wrong with it? Come on, people. It's not a doorway. It's what you are. Come on. human beings.
Yeah, exactly. That's the definition, isn't it? That's the definition. That's what I'm saying. Like, but how do you define it? It's complicated. It's seriously complicated, and that's why we talk about it. It's all good. It's all good.
I won't be the guy to like define it, but I can just definitely say, in my opinion.
Okay.
It's all good.
Okay, it's all right. It's all good. It's all good. Every bit of it.
Yeah. Go for the J-Tro or whatever it is.
All right, you're the best. Jack in Oregon. Appreciate you listening. Thanks for the phone call. You're the best, brother. Rock on, brother. Just turn it up. Piss the neighbors off.
Rock on.
Rock on, brother. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great night. All right, no problem. This is what I'm saying. It's okay. It's all good. We can agree. We can disagree. We can be all the way in between, and we can still be friends. Austin in Michigan. Thank you for being so patient. Go right ahead. What is on your mind tonight?
Just say this one goes up to 11.
this goes up to 11. All right. A little spinal tap in the house. What's up, Austin? How are you, brother? Go right ahead.
Excellent. How's everybody doing?
Hey, okay. I can only speak for myself, but if we let everybody say yes, we're taking away time from you. Go right ahead.
I feel you. It's just a habit.
Yeah, all good. What do you think? Doorways, reality, your brain, our brains, the control? What's up? What's going on?
I think perceptions are doorways.
Okay, continue, please.
Yeah, I guess I should expand on that. So, man, I was going to digress so bad just now, geez, about the door thing. But a new thought, a new way of thinking. Like when you walk through the doorway and you forget your keys, you change your way of thinking before you did that. And the Doors, the band, controversial as it may be, inspired me to think of it a lot differently because he was kind of into studying. The Jim Morrison guy was really into studying and predicting where the music industry would go. And he was into esoteric stuff, mystic, and all that, right? Every one of his songs is like a different doorway. It sounds like a different band. I remember a friend that introduced me to the music. He always did this thing where he wouldn't tell me who the band was, right? And it would be a different song. And I swear, every song, I thought it was a different band for a minute. The only thing that gave it away, but I was constantly like wondering at first, like, no way, is that the same? It's kind of funny how he did that. Anyway, that's digressing, but that is the band called The Doors, in the 60s.
That's what we're talking about. Hey, that's what we're talking about. Real quick, we got this thing. The quote known, Jim Morrison was known to say this: there are things known and things unknown, and in between are the doors. And that's why I brought the Doors into this conversation tonight. That's a quote. Again, some people have said Jim Morrison, some people said Aldous Huxley, some people said William Blake. This, again, in quote, investigator.com said it was actually attributed to Ray Manzarek. I don't know who that is. I don't have time to go into every single rabbit hole down the line here, but like you're spot on. Like it was maybe intentional. Maybe this was intentional. And like some have said, who was it? Ray Manzarek, his father was actually instrumental in the false flag attack that started the Vietnam War. I mean, there's a lot of like really whack shit with this. And
he was an admiral.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. But I mean, I think that's the thing. Yeah. So you're spot on. You're in the right place here. You're not digressing at all. But so what are your thoughts on, like, again, like you said, these doors are perceptions, all right? So if the doors are perceptions, then like Jennifer and like Night Stalker and like Jay and like so many people were saying tonight, are these perceptions, let's say, malleable in that they can be taken over, they can be infiltrated, they can be moved on by ritual or by hypnotism or by drugs or by sex or all of the above, right? And that's kind of where this turned tonight. I think it was a fantastic turn to talk about this stuff. But what's your thought on that?
I think that the Force is strong on the weak-minded thing. I can put it in different words from Star Wars, when they're like, how did you get past all those troops? And, it was on the Death Star or whatever. And I think it was the older guy. Man, I can't remember his name. But everybody's going to be like, oh, he doesn't know. But all right, I forgot. I'm sorry, guys, the names and stuff. But anyway, a lot of people probably know what that scene is. Deterrent, detour mind, distraction, eval, like avail. Like, I think it's just how strong are you on your path? How much self-discipline and how much self-discovery have you put in? Because if you know yourself and you practice learning yourself and you make that like your main aim, it's going to be a lot harder for you to be detoured off of your path. And I think that's really how you control your perception for the greater good of your soul. You can easily stray off of it. I think many religions had a lot of different ways of explaining through their perception on what that may mean, right? And I think religions are a lot like doors. And I think if you've been in a religion your whole life, it might be pretty dangerous to get out of it. It's kind of like everything changes if you do that, like it could be. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I think
I've
that's
seen that.
No, I think you're spot on, and that that's the thing too. So many of you know that I'm not even sure you could define myself as spiritual. Definitely not religious, right? But I do think that there's a lot more happening that, let's say, we can define, right? Like easily define. Clearly and obviously we've been talking about for years about stuff like this. It's about consciousness. It's about what the next level is, what the next step is. Who knows where we go, or reincarnation, who the hell knows, right? And that's the thing. It's not about sort of the idea of anybody knows. It's the idea that there's a lot happening that people don't know. And I think it leads back to this idea that you just said, religion, and I agree with you. Religion, cults, the whole, and this is the thing. This is look, I do very well to not be controversial. I'm not trying to be controversial because I don't want to divide people, right? I can be, and here I'm going to be in this moment. I think there are small cults and there are large religions that are also very, let's say, divisive in terms of those control mechanisms, right? Because of course, right, what's the point in having like an organization where you don't make your own money, but you receive money from people because of the spiritual power you bequeath them or give to them, right? I mean, anyway, like I said, I'm not defining myself, but I'm saying like a pure ideal to me is spiritual, but not religious, because religious is very cult-like in many ways. And so like you're describing, I agree with you in terms of religion is sort of this threshold you step through. And they're weird, all kinds of weird rituals and shit that like all these different religions, like again, like we could go rabbit holes of like weird shit that all these religions do. And the craziest part, right, is like, look, and the same people, right, and again, please forgive my blasphemy. The same people that will look you in the eye and say that, like, in derogatory terms, the flying spaghetti monster is watching everybody, okay? And that whole bit, right? And I don't ascribe to that notion, okay? But I'm using it as a derogatory, right? Anyway, just as an example. But then also they'll look you in the face and be like, how can you believe in aliens? And it's like, well, I don't know if I believe in aliens, first off. But if you believe the things that you do about all this other bullshit you said, right? Like, it's so strange to me that we draw our lines, right? We draw our own lines, and in some sense, those lines are those doorways to our subconscious, right? And again, please don't get me wrong. Believe what you want. I mean that 100%, 100%, forever. I mean this. Don't listen to me and take the things I say as anything other than just the things I say. You have your own mind. Use it. Fucking use it. Right? And I'm just saying, like, and I don't mean if you're religious, it's bad. I mean that we find solace in the things we need to find solace in. But I don't know that control mechanisms are the best way. That's all I mean by that. So please forgive the blasphemy, all that stuff. I'm not pointing it at you. Like I said, I don't know all of the face of the people watching this. I don't know. And by the way, not only that, not that I don't care, it's not my business. You do you, and I'll do me, and we'll talk, and we'll get along, and it'll be okay, right? That's what I mean. So anyway, so I'm with you on the doorways and religion. There you go. There's my diatribe. You want to trigger me? You trigger me.
They have the best doors.
They have the best doors, the biggest doors, the biggest doors.
Yeah, the fanciest doors.
They totally have the biggest doors. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we're onto something here.
Yeah. And so again, right? Like, I don't know. Like I said, I don't have the answers. I don't have any answers to anything. But there you go. There's a pure thought from Michael Strange. It's true. And I'm sorry if it's like divisive or wrong to you. It is what it is. And by the way, I'm not so obtuse that I'm not willing to change my mind. I'm willing to change my mind. And that's what this is all about. So what else you got, my friend?
So there's also these arches that are pretty much resemble doorways. I'm thinking of the ones in Asia. You know what I mean? They got them at dojos, like outside, and they're really pronounced doorway. But I think it's got a different name for it. It's probably, but it's essentially, it's like walking through a portal, you could say, within your own mind and your perception. Like when you pass through it, you feel like you did something, and you could literally just make one yourself. And you're like, you put your own energy into that. It could have some kind of perception shift for you there. And I don't think it has to be that magical per se, but it could be more to some, and maybe some areas or some doorways are built on some key energy points or something. I mean, I've seen these maps. I don't know how legit they are, Mike, but they're about all these churches and temples being built on these key energy points that are like aligned with certain stars and stuff. Like, I don't know. But I thought it was kind of interesting if it's true.
Yeah, a lot of things interesting if true, right? Yeah, there you go.
Right.
What's up, Lazy Guy X in the chat says, Mike, do you have time to talk about our Savior Jesus Christ? Probably not tonight. Probably not tonight. Probably not tonight. The hat is turned around, so now we mean serious business. The Maybe Show has become the Answer Show. After you go so many hours, the Maybe Show just becomes the Answer Show. No. Like again, I got nothing against Jesus. Honestly, I don't. It's but I think that the control mechanisms using Jesus, the notion of again, listen, I can differentiate in my mind Jesus himself, whoever that notion is, but then the notion of Jesus that's used as a fulcrum to control people, right? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They're two very different things. They're two very different things.
Yeah. I grew up in a family with in different religions. They would fight each other over it all the time. And I was kind of like the mediator that was trying to balance it out, because I just could see that they were kind of the main difference between them was just the one that they drew in the sand. They both wanted the same goal. Like everyone that looks into religion and they're faithful in their religion or whatever, most of the time I see more like extremely often, it seems like all of them have the same intent to learn about the thing that we all try to name, and I just wanted to say it like that because really, I look at it like this. Our brains are so small compared to the vastness of space. How could we possibly understand the source of all creation? And that's just how I look at it.
Yeah.
And so I respect everyone that's faithful in whatever religion there is, because I see it does do stuff for some people a lot more than others, especially when they keep their mind busy, like Jay was saying. They stay on the narrow path of their faith, and they have, it builds their self-worth as whoever they may be, and they actually help people. I respect those, but there's also the opposite of those kinds of people and religions.
Yeah,
and,
not only that. What's the saying? How's the saying go? Idle hands, something. The devil, something.
Yeah.
What's that saying?
Idle hands, the devil.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's true. And like I said, like, look, if you guys find yourself denouncing wisdom because it came from a particular place, who's obtuse, right? Like, I don't care where the wisdom comes from. Wisdom is wisdom, right? That's it. True. And so, yeah, I mean, don't be obtuse and be like, oh, those people are heretics. Really? Well, why don't you listen to what they're trying to say or what their doctrine says, right? Like, anyway, I'm just saying, like, let's be fair. If we believe in, and again, I'm being intentionally antagonistic. If we can believe in the flying spaghetti monster, we can consider somebody else's flying spaghetti monster, right? That's the point. That's my point.
Yeah.
That's the point I'm trying to make. Is like you can't believe in yours and denounce somebody else's. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Yep. We're way long, bro. Let's wrap this up. What the fuck? Holy shit! How do we go fucking 4.5 or 5 hours every night? This is getting bullshit.
It's every time I come in.
It's not your fault. It's all the fault of the amazing people. This is all your fault. Look, I threatened to end the show. No, go ahead.
I just said I love the fault.
Yeah, it's everybody's fault. It's all your dirty faults. All you out there, it's all your fault. No, look, this is what I'm saying. The whole point of all this is exactly for this reason, because there's so many places where you can't even talk about this, right? Like, if you bring this up in particular places, you get fucking, like, eggs thrown at you and shit. If it's not actually physically, it's, virtually or digitally or...
Wow, it's amazing, because how can you do that when... Like, if you word yourself so carefully and you don't even directly insult them in any way, and like what I was saying, like to just be respectful, like excellent to people that are excellent to each other. I mean, there's moral codes that all of them seem to have in common that are obviously the most wrong things to do. I mean, you do what is right in response to that, and still gonna respect you at whatever religion you may be. Some religions are more extreme than others, of course, because there's they have the ability to choose what side that they serve, whether it's creation, the life force, or destruction.
Yeah. Hey, you're right. I don't know. Look, no answers here. Like I said, you got some of my pure thoughts because I turned the hat around. And what that means is I'm like serious business going on with the hat backwards. But look, I don't know, bro. I think as always, like I told you last night, Austin and I were talking last night on the Discord after the show. I said, look, bro, like you didn't ask me for advice, but I love you and I want to give you some unsolicited advice. Just don't be so sure.
I love you too, man.
Thank you. Be willing to change your mind every day, because you never know, right? And that's the thing. That's the whole idea of this in this conversation and how we do this. Be willing to change, because if you're not willing to change your mind on a daily basis, who else is controlling your mind, right? If you're so rigid, think about that. If you're so rigid you cannot change your mind, then who else is controlling it? And that's probably a fantastic way to end this. You're the best, Austin. Austin here has a video, has a YouTube channel called Short Quick. Are we actually pimping this yet or what? You said no.
Yeah, not yet. It's
okay.
Just, it's
all right.
Prototype code.
All right. Anyway, type in Short Quick. You'll find Austin. He does some stuff. He's still working on it. You're the best, brother. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being you. Thanks for being part of this. Thanks for the phone call.
Yeah, much love. No problem.
You too, Broseph. All right, let's do it. Let's get the hell out of here. Who's been quiet the longest? Matt in New York, Matt in California. Anything to add real quick before we wrap this up?
Yeah, just a couple things. Pin in real quick. Key points. The doors to nowhere. That's at the Winchester Mystery House. So put that in there. And then just talking about like the vibes of the room. When you walk into a room, you feel the vibes.
Ah, yes.
I think that's
You've crossed the threshold. Yes.
Yeah. Depending on the room you walk into, everything changes the vibe, from the colors of the paint on the walls to the people in it and the music. So it hits all senses.
I love it.
It changes the vibration of the room.
Changes the vibe. And interesting, right? So like we've taken the term vibration and we've truncated it to vibe. Yeah, man, these vibes are the best, you know what I'm saying? But right, like you're saying, there's actually a vibration of energy in a particular space, and when you move into it, you feel it. Holy shit, that sounds pretty scientific to me. How about you?
Yeah, man. Thanks, Mike. Great show tonight. Thank you for doing what you do. Keep it up, man. Thank you.
You're the best, bro. Thanks for doing you. Thanks for being part of it. Tell Lacey hello. Who has been quiet the longest? Kelly in Colorado. If you're still there, I don't know if you're still there. Sometimes he dozes off. Sometimes he's like kicked back and just chilling and listening. Because you know what? That's what this is about, right? Like it's not about like it is sharing your thoughts, but it's also like in many cases just hearing what other people have to say. It's an important thing. If you're not there, Kelly, let's go. Who's been quiet the longest? Let's go to Tambam, and then we'll go to Jay in New York. Tambam in South Africa. Thoughts, my friend?
Oh my gosh, I got too much to say about this. I can't. There's no time because it sucks. Okay.
Welcome.
But I'm going to
to
say
my life.
one.
Hey, where are you in the first 2 hours? The first 2 hours, I'm struggling by myself. Nobody fucking calls me. We got Jennifer and Derek called me in the first 2 hours, and then the third hour just turns into the fifth hour. Come on.
We're afraid of the bad words. I can't control myself.
I can't do it. All right. It's fine.
I'm a fucking mess in the morning. See?
All right. It's fine. Shout out to Hollywood real quick out there on YouTube. I see you. What's up, Rob? Also as well. I see you guys. Wanda, and some new names out there. I don't know if you're re-accounts that I've banned or just amazing new people, but thanks for hanging out with us. Let's Tam Bam, go ahead.
Yeah,
do it. Get the chopper. What are you waiting for?
He's stealing my thunder.
Maybe
I've got so much to say, but I'm not going to say it because of the Doors quote that you quoted, Nana. It's so much bigger than just a quote. But I'm not going to talk about that now. But what I am going to say is that religion conversation you had, you guys made me laugh. And I'll tell you why. It's because I love Jesus, right? You guys know that. I'm a Christ follower. But as a Christ follower, I have such an open mind and I accept everyone's opinion. If I was a person who goes to church and goes and listens to a pastor and all that stuff, I would have judged you as that person. But being me as a Christ follower, I don't judge nothing and no one. And this is the number one reason why I don't go to church. They are the biggest pointers and judgmental people on the fucking planet.
Yeah, and that's why people hate religion, by the way, too. So if you literally, if you had if you're like, hey, Jesus is the thing, and we really mean non-judgment, like you would kill it, because guess what? People would resonate. They would vibrate to that. But it's not that. It's like, oh, well, it's always like the gossip chain. It's like, what the fuck? What are we doing here? This is not what really Jesus wants gossip about what Judy and her husband is doing on this Sunday night. You know what I mean? Like, get the fuck out of here. That's not what this is about. That's not what it's ever been about. That's control. That's what I always say. And look, like I said,
I've been a recovering Catholic for a long time, Mike.
Yeah,
exactly. Right. And this is what I'm saying to you. And you guys know. You're here. You're here for a reason. Look, the point is that I'm trying to make, and I've been making, and I'll continue to make. I don't have a problem with Jesus or any of that other stuff. If it's good for you, it's good for you. That's it. Do it. Go get it. But don't do somebody else's bidding because they invoke the name of whatever it is that resonates with you. It's control. Like, use your own mind, or somebody else is using it for you. Back to that.
It's all about perception. It's discernment and perception. What Jesus has done in my life, I cannot ignore, right? And that's in my life. It is my perception. It is what has happened to me. I will never enforce it on someone else, because actually that's not the true message.
That's
because
judgment.
I've studied the true message is exactly. And the true message is not that. It is not that. It is beyond that. People take out these excerpts from the Bible. They forget that they need to put it in context of that time and that place. Fucking mad. Drives me mad.
Drives me mad too. We're in the same boat there. We're in the same Noah's Ark there for sure. 100%. See what I did there? What's up? Shout out to Sherry. Sherry over on Rockfin. Sherry, it's been so long. Where have you been, my friend? Damn it, Sherry. Are you kidding me? For real? Damn it, Sherry. Sherry used to be a regular on Facebook. And there you go. Sherry says, universe is you inverted. And there you go. And that's why we love you, Sherry. Where you been? Where you been all our lives? All right. We're about to knock this MFer down into the gutter because, well, that's what happens about at the 5th hour Trouble Minds. Tam Bam, you're the best. Quick outro before we go to the J-Tro.
No, it's Jay's. He must do it. If he's absent, then I'll do it.
Okay, all right, fantastic. Give Tam Bam a follow. Give who else is here? Short, quick on YouTube, Austin in Michigan, and this is probably the most important thing I'll ever say. The most important thing I'll ever say. I'm about to say right now. Don't be scared to change your mind tomorrow. I saw this quote and it stuck me so hard. And I can't remember, again, these quotes just float in my head that I love. And I can't remember who said it, but it's like this. You are under no obligation to be the same person you were 5 minutes ago. Boom. Just like that. Let's go to the J-Tro. What's up, Jay? How you doing, homie? Let's roll this.
I'm doing fantastic, Mike. I'm sorry we kept you so long.
Nah, look, hey, I'm good. I'm on bonus time. It's okay. I got me and the dog. Mrs. Strange is out of town. Handling
weekend under toil.
Yeah.
Dog needs to go.
Normally I can't. I got other things to handle. Yeah.
I know.
But we're okay.
So
we're okay.
You want to end it? Wait for the bass to drop?
No. Give us your thoughts on all this, and then we'll end it. We got time for you tonight. Like I said, as I have time, we have time. But if I can't, I can't. So if I'm feeling like if you guys are feeling like I gotta catch a flight, sometimes shit's got to get done. So I'm just saying, like, there are other obligations I have as a husband, as a member of a family, as I have so many other problems.
Somebody with a job.
Yes. There's so many things I do. I do a lot of things. And look, and this is the thing too. It's okay. I wish, honestly, like, these conversations are so amazing. I'm like you, Jay. I wish we could just go 24 hours. I wish we could, because there's so many amazing people that have so many amazing thoughts.
Good morning.
But yeah.
I can't talk to you because I'm driving through the mountains. But I listen to what all you guys are talking about because it's so amazing.
There you go.
Brilliant, open mind. That's the thing that's so important about it. We're talking out loud with a voice, and not the keyboard or the misconstrued thoughts because of a misspelling or auto spell or however you want to place it. It's a fluid live conversation, and it's interactive with all of us, and that's so important. And I can't tell you how important the Doors were to me when I was growing up, and I don't even want to go there, Mike, because it's
exactly.
the end of the show.
That's okay. It's okay. Give us your thoughts real
we
quick.
We will be on the Discord probably later, though, maybe.
Yeah, so those of you that don't know, we do hang out quite often after the shows and whatnot. Sometimes, much to the chagrin of James. I think James may have gone to sleep, or I don't know if James is out there. James of Salcedo Paranormal, give him a follow, please. Links in the description. He hangs out with us most of the night, and he's like, oh God, we only did 6 hours after the show. He's like, oh, we'll never go longer than that. The next night, it's like, oh shit, we did 8 hours after the show. And yeah, so sometimes if you haven't joined the Discord, you're missing out. You're missing out on Kelly, you're missing out on Tam Bam, you're missing out on Jay New York, missing out on Austin, myself, lots of people. APOC join, Night Stalker pops in once in a while. There's a lot of amazing people. If you haven't joined the Discord, you're fucking missing out. troubledminds.org, click the Discord link. Jay, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts?
You'll be missing out after the J-Tro when the bass drops.
Not the J-Tro. Give us your final thoughts on the moment, because it's been a while and I cut you off short, and then we'll go to the J-Tro.
The whole thing with the doors and the portals and everything, I look at architecture because I build buildings and stuff like that. Now when we build buildings, everything is wide open until you go through that one door into the office of the person that you have to talk to. Everything is open. There's no portals. There's no doors. There's no nothing. Except for the offices around on the outside, on the walls with the windows. When you walk onto a floor, it's a big, wide open space with the one door you have to walk through. That's an architectural thing that I noticed throughout the conversation tonight that kind of got me thinking about the way that we're changing architecture now. The throwaways, build a real quick center block building just to tear it down in a couple of years because it's easier than remodeling it. Just that's might be hours and hours, dude. I'm talking.
Yeah. Welcome to
what you guys doing. Yeah, what you threw into my mind tonight, and everybody else, Jennifer and Tan and. Matt, the whole, no, yeah. I mean,
you can't name people, or you're going to forget somebody. Just say everybody. Everybody. There you go. You just
Derek,
say everybody.
All of them.
Just say everybody.
Everybody. It was just, damn it, guys. Damn it. Come on.
Man. Come on, man. All right.
I'm sleeping here.
I'm
trying to go to sleep here.
Yeah.
I'm going to be up for 3 days now.
Don't do that. 3 days with no sleep is less good. Double less good. All right. So what do you think? We're we onto something here. I honestly thought this was going to be like I struggled through 2 fucking hours until Derek and Jennifer called and saved my asses. Double, triple, quintuple special thanks to Derek and Jennifer for saving my ass on the radio. Look, hey.
I'll try to work on my language, Mike.
No,
I will definitely try to work on my language.
No, you're fine. I just can't struggle through 2 hours by myself, and I wasn't, and then go
I'm so terrified I'll drop an F-bomb on the radio.
No, you're fine. Man. Fuck it. You know what? Fuck it. Honestly, I don't even know if we're on the radio. Quote me on
Did you get the beeper button?
Yeah, I'm trying to find. I don't know. I got my mom making phone calls, and she's like, I didn't do it. She did it, and she's like trying to find out, and the program directors ain't even heard of us. I don't know. I don't know what's up. Shout out to my mom. My mom listens to almost every goddamn show. Damn it, Mom. What are you doing?
I love your mom.
Like, my mom is like the biggest fan. I'm like, what are you doing, Mom? She's like, she's like bringing up something I talked about in like the 5th hour of Trouble Minds. I'm like, what are you doing, Mom? Mom, I love you. What is going on? Hey, turn on some. Hey, go watch Stargate. Stargate on. Oh my God, Stargate on Netflix. Oh shit, 10 seasons. It's so fucking good. It's so. I'm like on season 8 or 7.5 or so. Mom,
just wait until you get into Atlantis and SVU.
I get. I'm just saying, I get it. I love the hell out of my mom, and shout out Mrs. Strange, all the chat out there. No, look, and my mom loves the hell out of me, and she's incredibly proud of me, and not just that, of this group. Like she asked me, like I'm telling you, she asked me about you guys. She asked me about the Night Stalker. She asked me about Jay in New York. She asked me about Rohan. She asked me about Jennifer. She asked me about all kinds of people, and I'm just like, look, I don't know.
And me?
Yeah, Tam Bam, yes. Again, that's what I'm saying. You can't list everybody because, yes, 100%. Like,
Can we
she's asking. Yes. Mama Strange is asking about all of you guys, right? And I'm just like, look, you know about as much as I do because you listen to the show. Like, I don't know much more. Anyway, it gets weird.
Mom, have you joined the Discord?
Mama Strange is in the Discord, as is Mrs. Strange, by the way. So they're in the Discord. I'm not going to disclose who they are in the Discord, but they're there.
That's fine.
They're there. I don't want them to get harassed or gushed on or some pseudo celebrity status because God damn it, this is my show.
If they come in there and listen to us, it'd be awesome.
I'm just kidding. Let's get the hell out of here. God.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're taking you out. I'm sorry,
fine.
Mike.
Look, I
apologize.
got no.
It's
I'm gonna be up till Jay. I'm gonna be up till 5 a.m. I'm gonna be up till 4 or 5 a.m. anyway. Like I honestly have nowhere to go. It's okay. I don't. I'm not gonna go gallivant in the Vegas streets or some shit. I ain't doing that. I got work to do. I got to cut. I got to edit this podcast. I got to edit the next podcast. I got so much fucking work. You guys have no idea. I got to add shirts and shit to the store. There's a lot of work. It's only me. I'm a one-man band. What's up, Hollywood? Thumbs up for moms.
9 times out of 10, Mike, if you ask for help, someone will give it to you.
Nah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that guy that's like, oh, everybody come help me because I'm the guy. No.
I can use a little help here.
No, when it gets to that point, I will hire somebody. Nope. Not doing that. I'm not doing it. We got here this far with all the 2 arms and the 2 eyes in the front of my head and the 2 ears on my head. No, I'm not doing it till I can hire somebody and actually pay them appropriately. Let's get the fuck out of here. Jay, what you got, my friend? I'm smashing the button. We're getting the J-Tro. Let's get some damn music and let's get the fuck out of here because I have to go. I'm almost doing the pee-pee dance again. That means I'm getting old. But let's smash some music. All right. This is the J-Tro.
Whoa.
From the J outro. The J outro is the J-Tro. Look, guys, greater than the sum of its parts. Troubled minds. Ladies and gentlemen, Jay in New York.
Thanks, Mike. I really appreciate your show.
Thank you.
There it is, the bass. The most important kind of freedom is to be what you really are. To trade your reality for a role. You give up your ability to feel, and in exchange, put on a mask. Jim Morrison.
Holy shit. Holy shit. Of course it's Jim Morrison. Of course it is.
Why wouldn't I come up with one like that?
Why wouldn't you?
All day. You're bringing it up all night.
I don't know, right? So the Doors, we'll go back to that quote. Just that quote real quick because I can't remember it because I'm a knucklehead. But it goes like this
the
also.
The most important kind of freedom is to be who you really are and trade your reality for a role. Your ability to feel. And exchange, put on a mask.
Amen. And let's add to that, there are things known and things unknown. And in between are the Doors. And there we go. All right, guys, if you love this show, please spread the word. As always, right, like a good old-fashioned word of mouth, we can blow this show up by just spreading the word. Hey, look, there's a conversation going on that people don't fucking talk about these things because they're not allowed. There's no safe space to talk about these things. And I'm telling you, fuck around and find out. You come here and you disrupt, it's insta-ban. I don't fucking care anymore. I don't care. It's more important to keep the sanctity of the safe space here. And I don't mean that in the snowflake way. I mean it in then, like, if you want to troll people, get the fuck out and go somewhere else. That's all I mean. You get the vibe or you don't. And if you don't get the vibe, go spend your time somewhere else. Go talk about politics or some other bullshit. What's up, MJ? Fucking right, it's live. We're done. We're getting the hell out of here. All right, so as we finish, it goes exactly like this. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being part of this. If you want to help the show, a few ways to do it. You can actually subscribe to Patreon. Again, it's all the links in the description. Patreon, Rockfin. You can sub up on Twitch. If you don't want to spend money, and I understand because not everybody has money, and if you have a little bit of time and you want to help spread the word, number one. Number two, listen to the podcast feed. Literally, it's monetized. There are so much gold in them Nar Hills on the RSS podcast feed, meaning, of course, that there's shows you haven't heard. The only person, I'm pretty sure, the only person who served all the shows is me, because I've been here for all of them. Right? So there's some beautiful, beautiful, wonderful conversations in the past that you missed. So look, if you miss this show, miss this group, miss us, these conversations, peel something off from the past and check it out. And fact check me, by the way. Again, I'm not afraid. Go back and see what I said 2 years ago and maybe look at today and see if anything fits. I'm just saying, and it's okay. I'm willing to be wrong. So as we finish, it goes exactly like this. Anybody want to do it? 3 words.
Be sure, be strong, be true.
Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night. Thanks, Dan Bam. Fantastic.
Sure.
Killing it.